Under the gloomy sky, a rift suddenly tore through space, opening a dark gate, and the world began to descend into chaos and destruction. Ferocious monsters poured out from the demon realm, with sharp claws and eyes burning with flames, sweeping in like a flood, spreading terror. In moments of despair, some chosen individuals awakened, becoming hunters. Gaining special powers from magic, the source of this mysterious energy. Thanks to them, humanity found a glimmer of hope and gradually began to resist. Time passed, and cities in ruins were rebuilt, and despite numerous difficulties, at least some people could live in fragile peace. However, the number of naturally awakened hunters was too small to withstand the monsters' continuous assaults. Therefore, for survival, humanity created artificial entities, chimera hunters. These chimera hunters were made from terrifying materials, death row inmates, animal carcasses, minerals from the demon gate, and the essence of monsters. The bold combination of the scientific community and the hunter corps made the mass production of chimeras a reality, significantly reducing hunter casualties and saving countless lives. The world, though slowly, seemed to be gradually recovering its former light. In the cold darkness of the deep night, in an illegal chimera laboratory deep underground, a man's voice, low and weary, spoke. "Just one more check on this, and we can go home." They, 2 men, descended to the 18th basement level, where the air was heavy and damp. The door to the advanced chimera storage room appeared before them, cold and eerie. The man in front, holding a flashlight, shone its weak beam towards the door and said worriedly, "Number 17's arm seems to be rotting." The fat man behind him, sweating on his forehead, cried out in a panic, "Hey, don't get too close." But the other man was unusually calm, replying, "It's fine, its brain is already damaged, it can't move without commands." He pointed at number 17's right arm and shook his head, "But look, its right arm is completely rotted. Is this a side effect of the experiment? What's so scary about it? We can't see it anyway. Just walk past it, it's going to be scrapped anyway." The fat man was still trembling, caught off guard. "Alright, coward, are you scared?" Number 17 remained silent, its hollow eyes watching the 2 men leave, completely unresponsive. In the lab director's office, dim light illuminated the professor's stern face. He was reporting, "Number 17 is essentially ruined. Its body is almost completely destroyed. Any other sample would have died long ago." The professor asked with icy eyes, "How much longer can it live?" The man replied without hesitation, "A month at most." A colleague next to him nodded, "I agree." The professor showed a dangerous smile, a cruel intent flashing in his eyes. "Then let it participate in the Sealgate mission, and have it cover the retreat when the hunters return. But do not give it the command to return." In the demon realm, Gidger Mountains, Unit 17, Chongduo-gen, stood silently, observing with hollow eyes. A massive monster with a gaping maw and sharp claws lunged forward. Tandu Gun didn't hesitate, slicing it into pieces, black blood splattering everywhere. Another monster burst from underground, letting out a piercing roar. Tandu Gun gathered power and leaped, unleashing a flurry of sharp claw attacks, striking down the enemy before him instantly. The monsters gathered in increasing numbers, irritating him. Tandu Gun condensed an energy orb in his mouth, which, upon exploding, instantly annihilated the entire horde of monsters. On a cliff, 3 hunters watched, their eyes filled with shock. One exclaimed, "Incredible! It wiped out all the monsters in a single move. Truly worthy of being a Chimera Cup S-rank hunter." The blond young man looked at the dimensional gate, his expression worried, but the gate still showed no signs of closing. "It's already the 3rd day." His teammate beside him confidently replied, "Don't worry too much. No matter how many more monsters come, we can handle them. As long as that Chimera Cup S rank is there, we just need to deal with the remaining scattered monsters." The dimensional gate began to shrink. The young man immediately reported to his teammates, "Rainbow Gate closing signal confirmed." He put away his weapon and laughed loudly, "Great. Just in time to go home. Everyone, let's evacuate the entrance." John Dogon was still fighting fiercely, covered in black blood. A young girl in the team looked back as she ran, asking in confusion, "Wait, aren't we taking that thing back?" Her teammate replied indifferently, "Leave it. We have orders not to take it with us." The girl was surprised, "What? Isn't it very valuable?" "I heard it's dying." She looked at John Dogon, a hint of regret flashing in her eyes, feeling a touch of sympathy. Without it, there might have been serious casualties this time. He interrupted, his tone firm, "Don't feel sympathy for it. Technically, that thing isn't a living creature, they are monsters. Such things only obey orders." The eyes on John Dogon's arm were bleeding as he angrily flung a monster away. A cold command echoed in his mind, "This mission only requires ensuring the hunter's safe evacuation." A giant earthquake beast lunged forward, its mouth full of sharp teeth. John Dogon unleashed the power of thunder from within him, annihilating the monster without a trace. But he himself lost an arm. That voice spoke again, "Understood? There is no other command besides this. After the mission, there's no need to return. evacuate, secure, then return once complete. But the final command did not allow for that. On that day, the mission results of Chimera Hunter number 17, John Dogon, were recorded. 0 hunter casualties, a total of 1,823 monsters eliminated. As his body dissipated, fragmented memories resurfaced. John Dogon was once an ordinary person, abducted at the age of 9. Memories rewound, dreamlike and illusory. Unfortunately, his damaged brain couldn't comprehend the meaning of those images. But he still silently watched his past life. 79 years ago, a man held a child in his arms, his eyes filled with determination. The child's name was. 70 years ago, he angrily scolded John Dogon. At that time, get up. You're lucky they only threw stones at you for being teased. How many times has this happened now? The door slammed shut with a jarring sound. John Dogon, you're out of the house. We can no longer take care of you. Under the dim streetlights, John Dogon's frail body collapsed onto the cold ground, facing several figures whose gazes were full of disdain. They frowned, their voices as irritable as the wind sweeping through the slums, as children continued to wander in from the slums. How many children are there already? Upon waking, John Dogon found himself lying on a hard cot, his hands and feet tightly bound by ropes, unable to move. A faint light from the corner of the room shone on his pale face. A group of doctors, in indifferent white coats, stood around, discussing. Is this the new test subject? What's the number? Number 17. Ensure it cannot escape. Understood. Another doctor, with a mechanically flat voice, continued, all right. Record, subject 17, injected with S+ grade Newton cells. They observed intently, their gazes as cold as needles. Now, let's observe the reaction. Suddenly, a doctor exclaimed, what? There are no side effects at all. They exchanged glances, surprise in their eyes. It has gained special abilities, but its appearance and personality remain unchanged. It seems to possess a unique physique. Another doctor, his voice as cold as ice, ordered, continue injecting it with anything until a reaction occurs. Under the dim light, flashing needles repeatedly pierced Zhong Duogong's body, bringing silent agony. 64 years ago, amidst the rolling smoke of the battlefield, Zhong Duogong's shoulders trembled violently, yet he stood tall and proud, facing the monster that swept in like a black whirlwind. A dazzling light erupted from his hand, burning like a raging fire, turning the monster into dust, leaving no trace. With that terrifying power, the entire road collapsed, sending debris flying. A little girl, holding a trembling child in her arms, said tearfully and gratefully, "Thank you for saving us." A wounded man, clutching his bleeding arm, said apologetically, "Sorry, that a child like you has to bear all this again." Zhong Duogong calmly replied, "It's nothing." 59 years ago, in a dazed moment, Zhong Duogong pondered to himself. Wait, why am I here? What am I doing? From the darkness, the old professor emerged, his smile sinister like a viper. Oh, hello there, subject 17. Why have you stopped? Are you deceiving your own memories? The old man sneered, the side effects have finally appeared. 54 years ago, after 15 years of being injected with over 500 types of monster cells, the results were announced. The hunter is at least S-grade, with immeasurable abilities. Subject 17 is truly the greatest masterpiece of our laboratory. 20 years ago, in an alley, the dim light of an oil lamp shone on a kind girl's face. She offered a piece of fresh meat, her eyes gentle. Subject 17, you are very kind, aren't you? She was surprised to see John Duogong ravenously devour the meat. She turned to the crowd, smiling, and said, "See? I told you it would eat." The people around were terrified, whispering, "Oh my, how dreadful." A mother pulled her child closer, her voice trembling, and said, "Child, don't look at these things." 3 days ago, John Dogon fought until he was utterly exhausted, his body scattering like dust in the wind. Mission accomplished. Morning light shone upon the ravaged land, bloodstains and monster corpses still scattered everywhere. A single bone lay isolated on the parched earth. Suddenly, the skeleton stirred, flying towards the sky, emitting a dazzling light, like flames of resurrection. Hunter Chimera 17, injected with 527 types of monster cells, began to regenerate. Muscles gradually formed, and human legs appeared. John Dogon stared at his body in astonishment, his voice trembling, "What's happening? Am I human again? Reborn?" He pondered to himself, considering that with the monster cells still active, he couldn't truly say he had fully recovered his human form. He mused, his gaze sweeping across the desolate land. It seemed a long time had passed since the experiment, and the laboratory had not come to retrieve him. He had been abandoned, even the experimental number on his wrist was gone. He gave a bitter smile. Does this mean I no longer need to escape the laboratory? He speculated quietly that his body's transformation might be due to the abilities of a fire elemental monster. He heard that if its core wasn't destroyed, it could survive up to 3 times. But he also heard that human cells couldn't fuse with phoenix cells. Never mind. What was certain was that his body had returned to its optimal state. He felt power surging, perhaps because all the side effects of the experiments had vanished. He had never felt so strong. Ever since the side effects began, his mind had always been shrouded in a fog. Even the rebellious restrictive magic on his body had disappeared. He looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. If number 17's life is truly over, perhaps now I can finally live like a human. John Dogon recalled the past, his voice bitter. Number 17 was nothing more than a number arbitrarily assigned to me by the laboratory. The old professor, with a tone full of disdain, once said, "You're not bad, are you? You twisted individual, at least try to live and help others, even if it's difficult." "Yes, the kind that lives to save 1,000 people. The old man scoffed. "TCH, John Dogon. What does that name even mean?" John Dogon's heart ached, and he blurted out, "In the end, what can a stray cat save? Let's just leave it at that for now." He pondered, his gaze distant. Revenge? For revenge, there must always be a clear target. Honestly, it all feels like a long time ago. The flames of hatred no longer burn as fiercely as before. He looked up at the sky, muttering to himself, if I keep living, I'll run into them sooner or later. I'll think about it then." He lowered his head, looking at the dry road. After a while, he had made up his mind. "Alright, it's decided then. Now, I'll try to live like a human." John Dogon stepped forward, slowly walking on the dusty road. He mumbled, "When was the last time I wore clothes?" Arriving at a cool river bend, he stopped, his gaze sweeping over the shimmering water. "But what should I use to make clothes? I'll look around the river first." Suddenly, he looked at what was before him in surprise. "This is there a territorial dispute here?" A giant beast lay dead on the ground, with no obvious wounds. He mused, it looked strong, but it died from poison. Perfect, just in time. His hand transformed into a sharp blade, gleaming in the sunlight. John Dogon mumbled contentedly. "After all, you always need a knife to skin something, right?" He recalled the techniques he learned in the lab, his tone steady. "First, cut lengthwise along the belly, then make a horizontal cut from the armpit. Good, once more." He unhurriedly cut through the beast's hide with his blade. A strong, pungent gas erupted, its smell acrid and unpleasant. He raised an eyebrow. "This thing is poisonous." But he continued, calm and without hostility. "This smell is awful, I need to skin it quickly." When finished, he looked at the hide and nodded. "Alright, not bad for a first try." In the sunlit river water, John Dogon carefully washed the hide. The flowing water washed away the clinging dirt. He looked at the hide in his hands in surprise, muttering, "I thought it would feel soft on the outside. Perhaps it's because the monster's hide is too tough and hasn't been processed yet." Thinking this, John Dogon gripped the hide tightly and began to repeatedly punch it. Each blow produced a muffled sound. He muttered doubtfully, "Is this how you process it? Is that right?" After a while, he stopped, nodded contentedly, and declared it finished. "It's incredibly soft, that's good. The size should be right too, shouldn't it?" Suddenly, a strange bird behind him, engulfed in raging flames, began to move. John Dogon paid it no mind and continued forward, his steps kicking up dust. He pierced the animal hide, made a hole, then threaded his hands through it, muttering to himself, "Will this work? It fits perfectly against my body." Suddenly, he noticed residual venom on the inside of the leather. The sticky liquid hadn't been cleaned off. He shrugged, muttering, "Forget it, I'm too lazy to bother. I'll just wear it like this." Turning around, he saw the strange bird had revived, its crimson eyes fixed on him. He exclaimed in surprise, "What's going on? It's not dead yet? I'm sure I was once human." The bird seemed to understand, shaking its head repeatedly, which surprised John Dogon. He thought to himself, "Does it understand what I'm saying? Or is it just my imagination?" Although its body had stiffened after death, it was still alive. He mused. This creature is probably immortal too. He recalled that if he were his former self, a hunter, he would have killed it without hesitation. But now, the creature was too weak to pose a threat. There was no need to kill it again. He looked at the bird and whispered, "You're lucky. And so am I. This is my second life, I must live it well. If fate allows, we will meet again." John Dogon silently entered the cave, his gaze sweeping over the damp stone walls. He observed and calculated, the clothing problem was solved. Now he needed a place to stay. Suddenly, water dripped from the wall, and a giant centipede emerged, lunging at him. John Dogon's expression was calm, his eyes cold. "It's quite dark in here." With a single move, he struck down the monster, and its corpse fell to the ground. He continued forward indifferently, letting the falling snowflakes brush past him. Ahead lay a vast expanse of white snow, where several snow apes lay motionless. He muttered, "Finding food here will probably be difficult." Never mind. He wrinkled his nose. What's that smell? Never mind. Too humid, never mind. Terribly hot, never mind. After much searching, Kyongwagon finally stopped before a magnificent waterfall, its waters rushing ceaselessly. He exclaimed, his eyes sparkling, the scenery is truly beautiful. I never expected to see such stunning natural beauty. Let's keep looking around. He lightly leaped to the opposite bank, standing on a moss-covered rock, overlooking the sparkling stream. This color palette is quite nice. If I caught a few fish and grilled them right here, it would be so good it'd feel like I'd been lured in. He smiled faintly. This place is practically a natural fish pond. Building a house here wouldn't be bad at all, and there are flowers too. The fresh air surrounding him lifted his spirits. Excellent. Zongduokun's home will be right here. A fierce wind blew, stirring up dust from the ground. A flash of lightning, and a spatial gate suddenly appeared, thick smoke billowing out. The machine descended, its blood-red eyes scanning the surroundings. Zongduokun stood in the center of the valley, gazing at the golden flowers shimmering in the sunlight. He mused, there are flowers here, and the air is so fresh. This place is truly beautiful, I can even hear the waterfall. About a 10-minute full moon walk from the valley. He nodded. Alright, it's time to try building a house. He unleashed several threads of power, like invisible blades, cutting down the ancient trees before him. Zongduokun looked around and murmured, the soil here is quite good too. I'll stack those good quality tree trunks separately. They should be enough by afternoon. He raised an eyebrow. The ground is a bit uneven. He cleared the area, and sunlight streamed down, illuminating the entire land. Oh, this place is nice, plenty of sunlight. Let my hands and feet move instinctively. He drove stakes into the four corners, muttering, what is this called again? Free will? Anyway, I'm happy, maybe because this is my first house. He laid down wooden planks for the floor, pondering, no nails for the walls. I'll use the slime secreted by those snail-like monsters. He remembered that this slime hardens like rock once dry. I wonder how waterproof it is. The roof was made of silkworm cocoons, shimmering in the sunlight. He looked at his work and nodded. Excellent. Even most monsters will find it hard to get close. However, the finished product was extremely terrifying. Monster slime was stuck everywhere, but in his eyes, this house was very cozy, and he liked it. It's still not enough. Zongduokun pondered, recalling past scenes. What do human houses usually have? According to the educational videos in the lab, people usually plant trees or keep dogs in their yards. But here, never mind. He mumbled, trees? Should I start a vegetable garden? But what can grow in the demon realm? Suddenly, his eyes lit up. There was a snow mountain nearby. Should I plant mandragora? Without hesitation, he walked towards the snow mountain, his steps firm. Cheong Duojen slowly walked to where the demonic energy was dense, nearing the peak of the snow mountain. Here, heavy snow fell like a barrier of white bones, and snowflakes drifted down silently. As expected of a snow mountain. He recalled, his voice low and melancholic, the snow was just as heavy when I was captured by the lab that day. It was so cold then that being captured felt like a better option. He gave a bitter smile, thinking back, becoming a chimera wasn't so bad. At least he no longer had to worry about freezing or starving to death. He sensed the demonic energy, judging by its concentration, he should be close. The snow gradually lessened. Finally, he saw tender green sprouts emerging from the ground, his eyes lighting up. Found it. Excellent, this trip wasn't in vain, he murmured. Mandragora is extremely sensitive to pressure, just like those sunfish monsters. Even a slight change in environment can cause them to die. Under the snowlight that shimmered like millions of jewels, Cheong Duojen gently touched the mandragora sprouts, feeling the soft tremor beneath his fingertips, as if touching a living creature. He mumbled to himself, his voice low like the cold wind sweeping across the mountaintop. If you want to transplant them, it's best to choose seedlings. They adapt more easily, right? He began to uproot them, each movement careful, fearing he might harm these fragile lives. Suddenly, he was startled and whispered, I should have covered my ears. These things will scream. But these mandrakes merely swayed gently, looking incredibly cute, as if immersed in a deep dream, which surprised him. What's going on? He pulled out another one, then another, observing carefully. These were the same. Looking at the sleeping mandrakes, he chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling. Don't tell me they're talking in their sleep. He pondered, as if recounting an ancient tale, the so-called mandrake screams only occur when they are artificially cultivated. In the human realm, where spiritual energy is scarce, they are always in a state of extreme tension. If pulled out forcefully, they would scream and then immediately die. Mandrakes, he murmured, it's no wonder I don't hear screams. Because this is the demon realm. He raised an eyebrow, wondering, but why aren't they resisting? Logically, they should be trying to escape. Ah, perhaps they recognize me as one of their own. He smiled faintly, a hint of pride in his eyes. His own body had mandrake cells implanted. He carefully tucked the 3 mandrakes into his belt, muttering, "This is good. The less stress, the easier they'll survive. If they grow well, I can pick some leaves for tea later. And mandrake fruits can even be eaten as snacks." He suddenly remembered, his voice lowering, "I heard that if the fruits are picked violently, they become extremely poisonous. I'll have to coax them gently." Suddenly, he sensed a presence, his sharp gaze sweeping across the vast white snow. It seemed there were hunters nearby. Why would they come to this dangerous snowy mountain? He decided, his footsteps steady on the snow, to first check the pass, then go investigate. In the distance, 2 men looked bitter, angrily shouting, "Damn it, those guys used us as bait and ran off." Ao Xieyong tried to stay calm, yelling, "Snap out of it. They're back." Suddenly, the monsters lunged, their roars like a storm in the night. A monstrous rabbit opened its eerie mouth, revealing teeth as sharp as blades. "We can't hold on much longer. If I had known, I would have just stuck to odd jobs. Why did I have to be so overconfident and try to catch a chimera? Someone, please save us." Suddenly, an explosion rang out, and smoke and dust filled the entire area, like a curtain of death. The monsters panicked, scattering, and fleeing like withered leaves in a strong wind. Ao Wenjiu was stunned, his voice trembling. "What's happening? Is that a person?" A rotund figure gradually emerged from the smoke, his gaze as cold as ice on a mountaintop. Feeling the sharp aura emanating from him, Chong Dukuan glanced indifferently at the snow rabbit and said, "Long time no see." The monsters were terrified, trampling over each other as they fled. Ao Wenjiu and Jin Taishuan were dumbfounded, unable to believe that even B-rank monsters fled just by seeing him. They quickly bowed their heads, their voices filled with gratitude. "Thank you for saving our lives." They introduced themselves, "I am Ao Wenjiu, and this is Jin Taishuan." Xiang Yi secretly pondered, "Chong Dukuan. I've never heard that name before." He scrutinized Chong Dukuan's unusual clothing, made from monster hide, and muttered, "What kind of outfit is this? Don't tell me he's a reclusive hunter." Chong Dukuan turned around, his gaze as sharp as a blade. "What are you doing here? From your appearance, you're at most D rank. Don't you know how dangerous the snow mountain is?" Jin Taishuan answered without hesitation, "Actually, it's for money. There's a mission to capture a chimera alive, and the reward is very generous." Chong Dukuan frowned, his tone slightly surprised. "A chimera? Impossible." Jin Taishuan explained, "Oh, I heard that an experimental subject escaped from the lab. It's a mechanical creature that jumped into a portal when it escaped." Zun Dugan pondered silently, his gaze lowered. If it were a mechanical creature, they wouldn't be chasing it. He looked at them and continued to ask, "But where are your tools?" Jin Taishuan immediately replied, his voice filled with bitterness, "The people in my team, they took everything and ran away. It was their plan from the start." Zun Dugan nodded, realizing the harsh truth. Those scoundrels had kept the portal's crystal. Jin Taisun's voice trembled, his eyes filled with despair. "Do you have a plan to go back? We can't hold on much longer. You know what happens after being corrupted by demonic energy." Zun Dugan, unaffected by the demonic energy, heard cries for help from afar. Wu Shixiong's voice trembled, "Please, will you take us back to the human realm? My wife is pregnant. Please." Zun Dugan followed the threads of power, muttering, "Found it." He immediately soared into the air, his figure tearing through the snowy sky like lightning. Wu Shixiong and Jin Taisun cried out in panic, "Please wait, Zun Dugan. Where are you going? Please take us with you. Please. Please." In the distance, a mechanical creature stood tall, its blood-red eyes scanning the snow-covered valley. It assessed, its voice cold as metal, "This place seems dangerous." 3 people rushed forward, shouting, "Now! Get it! All together!" The mechanical creature turned, its gaze sharp and unsettling, sensing a threat. It whispered, "If there's danger, eliminate it." With a single strike, the 3 vanished instantly. Amidst the shimmering snow, Zun Dugan finally entered the chaotic area. The dust and traces of battle still scattered everywhere. He murmured, his voice low like the cold wind, "Am I too late? It seems those hunters all ran off, leaving their equipment behind." He bent down to examine the ground, which was covered in children's footprints intertwined with sharp monster claw marks. A thought echoed in his mind, an experimental subject, a mechanical creature, escaped from the lab. He heard it jumped into a portal during its escape. Its structure is made of liquid metal, allowing it to freely transform. He frowned, imagining, but due to the scarcity of materials, they only made small ones, the size of a child or a large dog. Zun Dugan smiled faintly, a flicker of interest in his eyes. That mechanical creature defeated 5 B-rank hunters by itself. It's quite capable. Suddenly, a scream tore through the silence of the snowy mountain. Wushi Wang Du, trembling with pain, cried out, "Wake up, Wushi Wang Du!" He clutched his body, his voice desperate, "I can't hold on any longer. My body has been completely corroded by demonic energy." Despite his exhaustion, Gene Tyson tried to encourage his teammate, "Don't say such disheartening things. Your son is due next month, remember?" But he himself coughed up blood, his voice weak, "If I can't make it back, tell my wife I'm sorry." Tears streamed down Gene Tyson's face, his vision blurred with pain. Wushi Wang Du, hang in there. A miracle might still happen. Hearing the commotion, Gene Tyson sharply turned his head and saw Zhao Duojian carrying a bag full of mandrake roots. He exclaimed, "That's our luggage." Gene Tyson rushed forward and, without thinking, knelt before Zhao Duojian. "Please, Mr. Zhao, we beg you, save us." Zhao Duojian was slightly startled by this sight, thinking to himself, "Ah, right. There's also a portal crystal. In this lawless demon realm, whoever gets it first, it's theirs, right?" He looked at Gene Tyson, his gaze thoughtful. Gene Tyson trembled as he pulled out 2 scrolls, his voice urgent, "These 2 scrolls are worth 2 million. They are our only way out. Please give us a portal crystal. If we don't return now, we will surely die." Zhao Duojian stared at the 2 scrolls and murmured, 2 million, huh? I don't need anything right now, but it might come in handy in the human realm later. He took out a portal crystal. "Here you go." Gene Tyson was overcome with gratitude, bowing deeply, "Thank you. I will never forget your kindness." He turned to his teammate, "Wushi Wang Du, get up. We can still make it if we hurry." A flicker of confusion crossed Zhao Duojian's eyes as he asked, "Didn't a portal crystal used to cost only 200,000 won? Gene Tyson was surprised, that was a long time ago. Now it's 1 million won. Why do you ask? Zhao Duojian pointed at Wushi Wang Du, his tone calm, "I just felt like I took a bit too much. I'll give you back the excess." He injected his spiritual energy into Wushi Wang Du's body, and a light blue glow shimmered. Gene Tyson was dumbfounded, shouting, "Zhao Duojian, you're transferring spiritual energy. Wait, even A-rank hunters avoid transferring spiritual energy. If the spiritual energy clashes and becomes chaotic, the spiritual core could burst, and both of you would die." But Wushi Wang Du had already recovered, leaping up with an excited voice, "Huh? The demonic energy has been purified. We survived, Gene Tyson, we survived." Gene Tyson was hugged tightly by his teammate, his eyes wide with disbelief. Zhao Duojian finished his business, turned to leave, and said coldly, "All right, I'm leaving. You two should head back quickly." Wushi Wang Du cowed out in thanks, "Thank you, Zhao Duojian. We will never forget your kindness." Gene Tyson still hadn't recovered from the shock, muttering, "He actually purified demonic energy by channeling demonic power. That's impossible, unless his demonic power is incredibly strong. Just who exactly is Zhao Duojian?" Zun Daogun returned to his cabin in the snowy mountains, his solitary figure standing in the wind and snow. From a distance, the cabin looked eerie and terrifying, like a monster's fortress. He smiled faintly, "Excellent, no strangers have intruded upon my cabin. This trip has been quite fruitful, I'm very satisfied." He looked at the mandrakes in his bag and said gently, "You're awake. It seems traveling has exhausted the little ones. All their leaves have fallen off." He looked at them, as weak as soaked rice cakes, and couldn't help but laugh, "Unhappy? What's wrong? Don't like being moved? Ah, perhaps they're hungry from not being wrapped in soil during the journey." He whispered, "Then, how about some demonic power? They usually love it." The mandrakes seemed to be infused with vitality, becoming energetic. He chuckled, much livelier now. "Are you still considered monsters?" He mused, however, "Those low-energy little things should be the targets hunters are tracking. What would a mechanical creature want with me?" He shrugged, "Let it be. If it has something to say, it will appear. We can talk about money later." He checked his luggage, a portable stove and essential wilderness cooking gear. 8 portal crystals for traveling between realms, pollen-covered spare clothes, which needed washing, and a warm sleeping bag for 2. Quite thoroughly prepared. He smiled, "Amazing. This is ramen. The last time I ate it was when I escaped the orphanage." He muttered, a hint of sadness in his voice, "Just in time, I'm hungry. Let's cook some noodles." He boiled 500 milliliters of water, estimating by feel. The lake water beneath the pot began to bubble. Suddenly, several fierce fish leaped out of the water. People often add things to noodles. Fish should be quite delicious. He looked around, there were also ingredients like eggs and green onions. This fish has lice. This can be used instead. There are no green onions, but this herb should work. Once prepared, he turned back, only to his surprise, a mechanical creature emerged from the bushes, clutching its stomach with a wronged expression. It mumbled, "Cooking. That guy is cooking." Chundu Jun opened the stove, and the aroma of ramen spread. He mumbled, wondering when to add the fish. Never mind, I'll just cook everything together. He chuckled at the mismatched table and chairs, but the aroma of these noodles was always so enticing. Vague memories surged, this scent pulling him back to the distant past. The mechanical creature felt an inexplicable fatigue, and upon smelling the aroma, it whispered, "This is the smell of food. I want some too. What should I do?" It recalled seeing it in the lab. Humans like dogs, and humans help poor creatures. Under the gradually fading sunlight on the peak of the snowy mountain, a small dog suddenly rushed towards Chun Du-jun, its eyes glinting with a metallic sheen. He narrowed his eyes, immediately recognizing its true nature, a mechanical creature. "It's been following me for a while. Did it turn into a dog to make me drop my guard? This fellow is pretending to be injured to gain sympathy." He observed carefully and found it was small, looking very young, likely still in a learning phase. How did this thing escape from the lab and end up in the demon realm? Chun Du-jun spoke, his voice low but gentle. "It's ready, isn't it? Want to try some?" The dog, actually the mechanical creature, stared at the boiling pot of noodles. Drooling. Chun Du-jun looked at his oddly shaped bowl of noodles and muttered, "Then I'll try some too." The two sat down together, enjoying the fragrant pot of noodles. As he took his first bite, a wave of nostalgia washed over him. He whispered to himself, "This taste." Memories surged, as if a breeze brought back images of Chun Du-jun at 8 years old, sitting with friends in the orphanage, eating noodles. "Be careful, the noodles are still hot." He couldn't help but gulp down the hot noodles, a wave of emotion swelling in his heart. It really is this taste. So delicious. Nearby, a group of mandrakes swayed unsteadily, as if intoxicated by the aroma of the noodles. The smell was too strong. It completely overpowered all other scents. Chun Du-jun stood with hands on hips, looking at the little one with an indifferent gaze. "Finish eating and leave. I still have to clean up." He frowned, noticing that the little one had a slight limp in its left leg when it walked just now. The little dog was startled, quickly switched its feet, and pretended nothing was wrong. Chun Du-jun sat by the rushing waterfall, washing dishes and muttering, "I should try wringing out these dirty clothes. I don't have any happy pollen memories, so I can't keep wearing dirty clothes, can I?" He carefully wrung out the clothes, whispering, "I'm not a primitive person. Wringing too hard will damage them, I need to be gentle." But with just a gentle tap, the ringing stone shattered. He muttered to himself in annoyance, "It's fine, I have another chance." His gaze unintentionally fell upon another stone. This time, he was startled. It's turned into a stone again. Why is that mechanical creature always wandering around here? He recalled that whenever he ate noodles, washed dishes, or admired those ginger-like flowers, it would always come closer, changing forms but doing nothing. A bee flew near the wood. The mechanical creature ran around frantically, muttering, "Bees, bees, I hate bees." Chun Du-jun pursed his lips. Its mental age was probably less than 5. He pretended to cough a few times, making it a bit flustered. Does it want to escape? This flower is truly beautiful. He looked at the bright white clothes in his hand and sighed, "Taking things is more tiring than I thought. But at least I got this. It looks a bit small, probably won't fit. I'll just put it aside for now. It was hard to get, it would be a shame to throw it away." He turned his attention to the mandrakes, muttering, "Now, to check on those plants." But the mechanical creature was still hiding nearby, touching the clothes that were drying. "That man is already dressed. I'm dressed too." Suddenly, it transformed. Long hair appeared, and a human arm was revealed, turning into the form of a little girl. It mumbled, "All right, these clothes are mine now." Song Dao-jun looked at the withered mandrakes in surprise, thinking, "Why are these little ones behaving so strangely?" The leaves were starting to wither, and the soil was a bit dry. He raised an eyebrow and bent down to check the soil. "Strange, I clearly pulled out all the weeds when I tended the garden. What's this? There's everything underground." He sighed, thinking he should have tilled the soil more carefully. He almost killed them. "I should properly organize a garden, about the size of this house should be enough." The little girl, transformed from a mechanical being, hid behind the shade of a tree and softly greeted, "Hello." Song Dao Lord immediately saw through the disguise, pouting. "This time it's a girl. Are you finally going to talk to me?" He replied, hello." The little girl, now called Jean Naley, looked at Song Dao Lord's house in a daze. "Is this your home?" He nodded, a hint of pride in his voice. "Yes." Jean Naley's eyes lit up, and she continued to ask, "Then are you a local here?" Song Dao Lord chuckled, wondering, should I tease her? After a moment of thought, he said, "That's right. Which tribe do you belong to?" This sudden question stunned Jean Naley. She stammered in response, "Tribe? Ah, I'm from the other side of the waterfall, very, very far away. So far you wouldn't be able to find it." Song Dao Lord pressed on, "Really? If you're near the waterfall, are you from the washing tribe? Jean Naley nodded repeatedly as if grasping at a lifeline. Yes, I'm from the washing tribe. He wasn't ready to stop teasing yet. But this outfit seems to be mine, doesn't it? Jean Naley immediately retorted, in our tribe, whoever finds it first, it's theirs. Now it's mine. Song Dao Lord shrugged. Alright, you can keep it. So how did you come to be from the washing tribe? Jean Naley became flustered and fabricated. Actually, I was cast out by my tribe. So I wanted to ask you for a favor. I want to live here, and I hope you'll agree. Song Dao Lord was a bit surprised. Live here? Jean Naley, sweating with anxiety, quickly said, there are no bugs here, and there's a house. So I think it's very safe here, and I want to live here. He sighed, his voice low. This child really needs a place to rest. Alright, but if you want to stay, you have to work. Jean Naley replied joyfully, okay, I'll do anything you give me. Tan Du Gun immediately began assigning tasks. First, I need to till this field. Can you help? I need to build new homes for those mandrake plants. Jean Naley picked up a wooden stick and got to work, her voice full of confidence. Leave it to me. I'm very strong and good at using my strength. Tan Du Gun watched the little girl enthusiastically digging holes, thinking to himself, she's not even bothering to hide her identity anymore. Or perhaps she doesn't know how ordinary children are supposed to behave, having lived in a laboratory all this time. He asked, hey, what's your name? I am Tan Du Gun. Janali was startled and stammered, my name? My name. I don't have a name yet. Then I'll give you a new name, like the beautiful flower I saw that day. Janali, your name is Janali. Tan Du Gun said expressionlessly, you mean marigold? Janali yelled in dissatisfaction, it's Janali. Before long, a quarter of the forest had been transformed into soft soil. The little girl cheered, it's done. That was fast. Tan Du Gun looked at the arrangement of stone knives he had made, happily watching the mandragoras hop around. They seemed to like it. Should have done this sooner. He suddenly noticed Janali's silence. She was quietly gazing at the garden. Under the hazy sunset, the snow on the mountains was bathed in a dull golden-orange hue. Tan Du Gun was surprised to see Janali's eyes red, tears streaming down her cheeks. He frowned, his voice low and concerned, what's wrong? Why are you suddenly crying? Janali could no longer hide her emotions and sobbed, seeing these mandragoras reminds me of my friends. Tan Du Gun glanced at her in surprise, friends? Impossible. How could something like that exist in a lab? Janali seemed to realize something and was startled, but before she could answer, a group of strangers appeared high up, their figures shimmering in the snow. Tan Du Gun remained calm, his tone peaceful, don't be too surprised. Those are just some creatures hunting each other. Such sounds are common here. But Janali knelt down, trembling all over, her voice becoming dazed, before coming here. I saw a creature that looked like a chick. Tan Du Gun carefully observed the distance. The group of creatures was howling, it seemed the chick-like creature was being attacked by the entire group. Janali couldn't calm down and whispered, it looked like it was in pain, as if it had been bitten. Tan Du Gun nodded, his tone indifferent, probably. It's likely about to be eaten. This is the demon realm, after all. He paused, looking at the little girl, wait, you want to save that creature? Jean Naley held her head, in immense pain, her voice trembling as she said, save a monster. Chen Daojun's heart stirred slightly, realizing the girl was still under the influence of the laboratory's brainwashing commands. He thought, this child cannot act according to her own will. Should I help her? But how should I say it so it doesn't sound like a command? He said softly, if you help it, it might survive. Do you want to go see? Jean Naley immediately rushed out, shouting, I'm going. In the distance, more and more monsters gathered, surrounding a dying, weak monster, waiting for it to perish. Jean Naley rushed forward, kicking away a creature, and roared, don't bully it. Big sister will save you. She recalled the fear of her former teammates. Was she going to be at the forefront of this battle again? If this continues, we'll all be sent for dangerous experiments. A torn teddy bear. The monsters charged at Jean Naley, hitting and kicking her. We want to live too. It would be better if you weren't here. The girl held her head, asking herself, why do I only follow orders? It hurts. Stop. Bullying others like this is wrong. Chen Daojun was still feeding magic to the mandragora. When Jean Naley returned, holding the small monster, tears streamed down her face. What should I do? It won't wake up again. The monster lay motionless, its breath weak. Chen Daojun was startled, as if remembering something. First, calm down. Wait, I think I've seen that monster somewhere before. Jean Naley sobbed, it looks so miserable. Is it dying? He approached to examine it, let's check calmly. Magic was released from his hand, and a pale blue light enveloped the monster. He murmured, thankfully, no fatal injuries. Every monster has its own magical energy and history. It's curled up, and its color is paler than I expected. This is indeed that immortal monster from last time, but why has it shrunk so much? Is its recovery method different from mine? Jean Nali watched intently, asking worriedly, how is it? Is it really dying? Qian Daojun calmly said, no, it's just malnourished. Because its body shrunk, it couldn't find food. I've already infused some magic into it. If we just leave it, it will recover on its own. Jean Nali recalled the scene when she was a mechanical being, facing her teammates, and that teddy bear was severely damaged. The girl worriedly brought the monster to him, pleading, Big brother, if we just leave it like this, it will die. Look, it's as soft as mochi now. So, can I keep it? I want to take care of it, and I'll teach it well. Plus, I'll make sure it's well fed. Please? Qian Daojun nodded, his gaze gentle. This fellow might grow quite large, you know. Jean Nali said, puzzled, I'll only let it eat a little bit. He smiled and said, alright, have it your way. The girl cheered, really? He chuckled, maybe it wouldn't be bad to have it guard the yard outside. The monster slowly opened its eyes and mumbled, where am I? It looked at Zhong Duojun, its eyes burning with anger. Last time, you stripped my family's clothes off. Jean Nali was startled by the hostile attitude, but quickly regained her cheerful demeanor. It seems to be awake. It has quite unique taste. The monster roared impatiently, let me out. Zhong Duojun exclaimed to himself, huh, what? I can understand what it's saying? It continued to shout, I said, let me out. Jean Nali was still enthusiastic. Treatment complete. Brother, I've thought of a name for it. Because its taste is unique, let's call it Pin. Zhong Duojun replied while carrying wood, that's not a bad name. But Pin roared exasperatedly, why do you always give me random names? I have my own name. Jean Nali innocently splashed a pot of water on its face. Because it kept crying. Maybe it was thirsty. The little girl turned to her brother, asking worriedly, brother, it's all wet. What should we do next? Pin had a swollen belly. Ugh, I don't need water anymore. Please. Zhong Duojun said softly, it seems this little one doesn't understand its meaning. Maybe I should stop giving it water? Jean Nali thought for a moment and suggested, maybe it's hungry. I'll go find something to eat. Zhong Duojun arranged the 3 pieces of wood, mumbling to himself, now there are more small pieces. Should I make a shelf to organize them? The size should be about this, not too big. He gently lowered the blade, and the wood immediately snapped in two. He looked bewildered, what just happened? But I made it exactly like the tables and chairs. Pin huffily said, quick, change the wood, this piece in front of you is cork. Zhong Duojun stared blankly at the wood, do different woods have different hardnesses too? Pin was speechless, of course. You didn't know that? He continued to press, then what color wood is the hardest? As the golden-orange afterglow of the setting sun spread across the snow-capped mountain peaks, Pin was suddenly startled, its voice full of shock, obviously, red wood. It turned to Zhong Duojun, eyes wide, wait, you actually understood what I said? But Zhong Duojun only paid attention to the previous sentence, muttering to himself, his gaze thoughtful. Red wood. Pin stood up straight, staring intently, its voice panicked, are you saying it's impossible? Zhong Duojun remained focused on the wood in front of him, shaking his head and whispering, I looked closely, there's no redwood at all. He paused, his gaze as sharp as a blade. Is your habitat not here? Pin impatiently interrupted its own thoughts, growling, no, wait. More importantly, you can hear me speak? Zhong Duojun turned around, calmly replying, not exactly hearing, it's more like your words automatically appear in my mind. He frowned, continuing, but what's even stranger is that a creature like you can understand human speech, isn't it? Gu felt confused. Born under extremely low probability. I've only heard of it, this is the first time I've seen it with my own eyes. Zhong Dugun looked at Gu, his eyes as deep as an icy lake, Uncle met you, right? Gu nodded without hesitation, yes, I really want to see Uncle again. He asked doubtfully, his tone gentle, you want to see me, why? Gu's voice deepened as he recalled, no matter the reason, Uncle once saved me. I once thought, if I could see him again someday, I'd want to help Uncle too. Zhong Dugun nodded, a hint of pride flashing in his eyes, so the poison from back then has been cured. You and your family were stripped of all your power, but your immortal core remained intact. That's why you survived. He smiled and said, very good, so can you help me with this favor now? Gu was startled by the sudden request, stammering, now? He quickly nodded, shaking off the white ice from his body, his tone firm. Alright, follow me, I'll take you to where the red trees grow. Suddenly, thick smoke billowed up, and the forest erupted in a raging fire, flames licking at the dry branches. Jean Nali panicked, running and shouting, go away, I hate labs. It's too hot. A loud bang knocked her to the ground, tears streaming down like a fountain. The people from the lab are coming for me. What should I do? Fire is too scary, I hate fire. Nan Jishur, with a grim and terrifying expression, emerged from the smoke, his gaze sharp as a blade. So it's true, a mechanical being can actually transform itself. He frowned, his voice low. Attacking a child isn't ideal, but please understand, my life is also threatened. He unleashed his power towards Jean Naily. The girl's face was filled with terror. After hearing his words, she turned around. I'll end all of this here. But John Dogon appeared just in time, using a technique to rescue her, muttering with a tone full of displeasure, I just want to finish assembling the cabinet and then eat and rest. Gu rushed into the battle, shouting, I'll show you that tree, but save the girl first. A terrifying glint, like cold fire, flashed in John Dogon's eyes. Jean Naily huddled in fear, mumbling, fire is too scary. John Dogon glanced at her, his voice low but gentle, quickly, leave. He thought to himself, Jean Naily is very afraid of fire. It seems this child isn't in a good state right now. I need to put out the fire first. He unleashed his power, extinguishing the flames instantly, then turned to Nan Jishur, bullying a child? You scoundrel! Nan Jishur roared, what in the world are you doing? You're not a prehistoric person, are you? Which organization do you belong to? It seems you're also after the mechanical being. I'm out of time, get out of my way. John Dogon responded coldly, unafraid, you talk too much. Nan Jishur was furious. What nonsense is this scoundrel spouting? Get lost. A burst of power shot from his fingertips, but John Dogon easily blocked it, light shimmering. Nan Jishur stared in shock at the giant rock destroyed behind him. The girl? The space returned to calm once more. John Dogon looked at Jean Naily, are you alright now? Uncle thinks you're fine. Jean Naily slowly raised her head, her voice trembling, Uncle, you put out the fire. John Dogon looked at Nan Jishur, who was lying in the snow, and mumbled, Jean Naily, if you're scared, just give him a punch to finish it. Wake up. He looked at the wig in his hand, confused. This man has no hair. The three of them, John Dogjen, Janali, and Goop gathered around the unconscious Nan Jishur, surprised to find that this guy was bald. Janali giggled, the bald guy looks so funny. Baldy, I'm not afraid of you anymore. John Dogjen secretly assessed, this guy is definitely no match for Janali. This will make everything clear. Suddenly, a memory flashed through his mind, via a mental link. In a dimly lit laboratory, a doctor sneered in front of a cage, hide from me, huh? It seems you finally have some self-awareness. Come here, there's nothing to be afraid of. This is just an endurance test. An explosion sounded, and the memory ended. John Dogjen patted Janali's head and praised, well done. He thought to himself, psychological trauma won't disappear easily, but this is the first step. He turned to Gu, playfully patting his bald head, now, what should we do with this guy? Janali's eyes lit up, and she said excitedly, I have a great idea. A moment later, Nan Jishur, suspended in the middle of a waterfall, woke up in a panic. Hearing Janali's gleeful laughter, if he gets wet, the fire will go out. The bald guy isn't scary anymore. Nan Jishur roared in his mind, this isn't why I came to the demon realm. Janali shouted, the bald guy is so profound. John Dogjen awkwardly advised, one shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But he smiled wryly, perhaps this child is recovering faster than I thought. A moment later, as he scooped water from the stream, Gu asked curiously, what are you doing? John Dogjen immediately replied, getting water to boil noodles. Janali shouted, her voice full of excitement, ramen? You're hanging rice, really? Janali excitedly echoed, yeah, we from the pineapple tribe love eating noodles. Janali excitedly echoed, yeah, we from the pineapple tribe love eating noodles. Nan Jishur, suspended in midair, thought to himself, this guy is at least an A+ rank hunter, maybe even stronger. Most likely a reclusive hunter, not living within the system. But hanging someone up to boil noodles, even in the demon realm, this is too bizarre. Janali emerged from the bottom of the stream, holding several fish, which made John Dogjen smile. Just give him one, put the rest back. Janali nodded, got it. Hurry and put them in the pot. Nan Jishur's face was pale as he mumbled, what kind of situation is this? If that monster is cooked, the soup base will be ruined. And why is he using so much water? Do you even know how to cook ramen? Under the afterglow of the setting sun, which painted the snowy mountain peaks yellow, Jean Naily skipped innocently. Her clear voice echoed in the cold air. It's ramen time. I'm so excited. Suddenly, Nam Giziak, still hanging in the waterfall, shouted, startling the three. Wait, can you let me down first? I'll cook it myself. A moment later, Nam Giziak, as if on a stage, muttered to himself with resolute eyes, this is just noodles. But at this moment, it's about my survival. He prepared carefully, his low voice as if saying, ramen must be cooked with sincerity, following the basic rules. I can't do anything fancy. He measured the water, muttering, water volume, trust your feeling. 1/3 full. This should be it. He put the noodles and seasoning packets into the boiling water, counting his heartbeats. My heart beats 60 times per minute. So, 270 heartbeats later is the perfect time. Exactly 270 beats. Nam Giziak scooped out the noodles, shouting, now for the air bath. An important step. Let the noodles touch the air to achieve that perfect chewy texture. He sighed, a hint of regret in his eyes. It would be perfect with kimchi. But this is the demon realm. I've done my best, no regrets. Nam Giziak's sincere noodles were ready, their aroma filling the cold air. He carried the noodles over, placed them in front of the three, and said excitedly, try it. Chun Duo-jun picked up a noodle, tasted it, and mumbled, it's alright, let's see. The three simultaneously put the noodles into their mouths, their eyes widening instantly, mouths agape in surprise. Chun Duo-jun exclaimed, this is the taste of sincerity. Jean nearly jumped up, cheering, Uncle, this is really delicious. Gu nodded in agreement. Do you humans usually eat this? Chun Duo-jun gave an awkward laugh. Right? Even you're surprised. Just eat, come on. Soon, the pot of noodles was completely devoured by the three. Nam Giziak scratched his head, asking shyly, did you like it? Suddenly, Gu blurted out, just tell me what you want. It's too delicious to eat for free. So, just say it. If I can do it, I will definitely do it. Nan Jishi hesitated, a gleam in his eyes. Really? He knelt down and pleaded, then please, you must teach me. He looked at Chun Du-jun, his voice filled with longing. Hunter Nan Jishur, I want to become as strong as Uncle. Uncle is the strongest hunter I've ever seen. And looking at that house, Uncle must be here to ward off disaster and misfortune. He continued excitedly. The villagers opened a small fried chicken shop, and the fried chicken is super delicious. It must be troublesome to go in and out to get things, right? And clothes and such, let me run errands for Uncle. I can even help Uncle pay for tuition, any amount is fine. I want to follow Uncle and become an A-rank hunter. Chun Du-jun looked at him coldly, asking only one question. Why did you attack Jean Nali? Was it for the bounty? Nan Jishur looked bewildered. Jean Nali? Is Uncle talking about that robot? Before he could finish, his brother interrupted, Tisk, it's currently involved in some pineapple tribe storyline. Just proceed as usual. Nan Jishur lowered his head, his voice low. This is a private matter, difficult to explain. But I'm not interested in Jean Nali's bounty. I just need to pass the hunter rank test. Nothing else matters. Chun Du-jun nodded, saying decisively, I see. Then stand up. Nan Jishur looked confused. Why? Chun Du-jun said indifferently, you should do something after a full meal. Last time ended too quickly. Nan Jishur was excited and grateful. Thank you, Uncle. Suddenly, Jean Nali called out, Uncle, I want to fight instead of him. Chun Du-jun couldn't believe his ears and asked back, Jean Nali, are you sure? The little girl excitedly replied, didn't Uncle say? When you're scared, just punch it away. I want to personally overcome this fear. Nan Jishur completely disregarded her, scoffing, Kid, have you forgotten? He is indeed strong, but not so weak as to be taken lightly. Seeing him underestimate his opponent, Chun Du-jun pointed to a huge rock and said in a challenging tone, Nan Jishur, right? Can you smash that thing? Nan Jishur hesitated, that's oxidite, isn't it? I heard it's much harder than diamond. Chun Du-jun interrupted, so what? Can't you do it? Nan Jishur waved his hand. Come on, that's oxidian. It would take at least an A-rank hunter to. Before he could finish speaking, the giant rock suddenly exploded, sending fragments scattering everywhere. Nan Jishur's face was pale as he stammered, damn it, Janali was the one who did that move just now. The little girl repeated seriously, bald uncle, come out and have a match. Nan Jishur, a born awakened, was once a hunter with a promising future. He first awakened his abilities around the age of 5. Much earlier than the average age of awakening for ordinary people. In the B-rank hunter examination at test site 12, through diligence and talent. He obtained his B-rank qualification before the age of 20, growing at an astonishing rate and becoming widely renowned. Harboring the dream of becoming the strongest hunter, Nan Jishur's glorious years were almost perfect, with one exception. While showering, he accidentally discovered his hair falling out and screamed in panic, what's going on? The problem of hair loss came too early. At an age when others were just beginning to awaken, his hair was already thinning. By the time he was 25 or 26, his hairline had noticeably receded. He visited all the major pharmacies and clinics, but only received this answer. It will continue to fall out sooner or later. You should just give up. With his handsome appearance and extraordinary talent, Nan Jishir once shone brighter than anyone, but that brilliance quickly faded. His development as a hunter also stalled as a result. Until one evening, a voice came over the radio. Today, we are honored to invite Dr. Han Minggu from the Hanbei Research Institute. It is said that he has made an interesting discovery in his recent research. The doctor's voice began, liquid metal is an extremely rare substance, even in the demon realm. I accidentally spilled it all over my head. And then, you know what? My hair just grew back. And I'm almost 90 years old. Under the hazy sunset, the golden snow-capped peaks shimmered. Nan Jishir couldn't help but frown, muttering irritably, what the hell is this? But Dr. Han Minggu's next words shocked him even more. However, what will shock you even more is, do I plan to develop a hair growth remedy next? The doctor shook his head and said firmly, no. Through this incident, I once again realized that as an awakened, the demon realm is full of unknown mysteries. For the future of humanity, I will use all the remaining liquid metal to create a mechanical creature and conquer Korea's first grand prize. Nan Jishir couldn't take it anymore. He slammed the table and roared, no. Just make the hair growth remedy. That's truly for the future of humanity. Days later, a newspaper spread explosive news. Hanbei Institute's mechanical biological masterpiece had escaped into the demon realm. Nan Jishir's eyes lit up. He quickly dressed and rushed out, muttering, there are no laws in the demon realm. In other words, whoever finds it first gets to keep it. I must find it and claim it all for myself. Back to the present, Nan Jishir lay slumped on the ground, struggling to look at Jean Naley. Sighing, this girl is too strong. Jean Naley stood with her hands on her hips, laughing triumphantly, I won again. Shin Dongjun stood by, sighing helplessly, he didn't even land a single hit. He looked at Nan Jishir seriously and said, if this continues, I won't let her be your follower anymore. Nan Jishir was terrified and shouted, I'll try harder. Please continue to guide me. Meanwhile, Zhong Daojun had just finished making a cabinet and smiled with satisfaction. The storage cabinet is done. This mahogany is indeed sturdy. Thank you for your guidance, uncle. Gu inspected it, nodded, and said, this thing will last a long time. Zhong Daojun turned to Nan Jishir, thinking to himself, this guy at least has some potential. Nan Jishir let out a long sigh, muttering to himself, I've been beaten all day. Why do I strangely feel relaxed? Is it because I took off my wig? Thinking this, he shouted loudly, Jean Naley, let's go again. Gu observed the fight and commented, he can't even win against a child. Zhong Daojun retorted in a low voice, but Jean Naley is no ordinary child. On the other side, Nan Jishir summoned his fire gun and charged forward, shouting, this time, I'm definitely going to win. Jean Naley struck a pose and replied, come on, uncle. The fire gun hit, and Jean Naley turned into a liquid, leaving Nan Jishir dumbfounded. Is this liquefaction? Before he could react, the girl had already reformed and kicked him in the face. Jean Naley stood with her hands on her hips, smiling, now I'm not afraid of fire anymore. It's all thanks to you, uncle. Nan Jishir lay in a pile of dirt, giving a wry, self-deprecating smile. Is this the limit of forever being B rank? I've run out of moves. No, I must get up. Someone past their prime like me, where else would I get an opportunity like this? Let's do it again. Jean Naley looked at him, suddenly a little embarrassed. Ha! He's got a nosebleed. Zhong Daojun stepped forward and asked, how many days have you been in the demon realm? Nan Jishir wiped the blood and replied, today's the 9th day. Zhong Daojun said seriously, you should go back. At your level, if you stay any longer, the demonic energy will corrode you to death. Nan Jishir nodded, immediately agreeing, it seems I should go back. I wanted to stay a bit longer, but... Zhong Daojun suddenly praised, however. You have the potential to reach A rank. You need to work harder. Nan Jishir's eyes widened in disbelief. Me? But then he became dejected again, complaining, I haven't passed the A rank exam for 6 consecutive years. They say if you don't pass the same rank exam for more than 3 years, there's no hope left. They also say such a thing has never happened in history. Zhong Daojun encouraged him with a firm tone, Uncle believes you can do it. Your demonic core hasn't been fully developed yet. Don't give up. Remember to purify the demonic energy after you go back. Hearing these words, Nan Jishir was overjoyed and thanked him repeatedly. Thank you, Uncle. I, Nan Jishir, will definitely give it my all. I hope Uncle will continue to keep an eye on me. Zhong Daojun thought to himself, I will train you to become an A-rank hunter. After a while, the space gate opened. Nan Jishir stood at the gate with his luggage and asked, does anyone need anything else? It seems we're out of ramen. Jean Naley and Zhong Daojun nodded, saying in unison, ramen, we're probably out. Nan Jishir suggested, then I'll go buy some now. Jean Naley made a face and teased, Uncle, be careful on your way. Nan Jishir stopped and challenged, keep practicing, kid. Next time, Uncle will straighten you out. He hesitated and asked, Uncle, have you seen my wig? Zhong Daojun glanced at him awkwardly, forcing a smile. Uncle doesn't remember seeing it. Nanshi Shua understood, sighed, I see. Well, I'm heading back then. Where did that thing go? As soon as he finished speaking, the gate closed, and Nanshi Shua instantly vanished. Gu asked in a deep, doubtful voice, are you sure about this? Zhong Daojun asked back, puzzled, what do you mean? Gu reasoned, what if he betrays us? He might even bring other hunters back here. Zhong Daojun didn't seem to mind, asking back, what do you think? Can't you read people's memories? Right? At least his desire to become stronger is real, and his baldness is also real. He smiled and added, such a sincere person will be quite interesting. Janali suddenly called out, Uncle, can you understand what Gu is saying? Zhong Daojun looked bewildered. Uncle didn't say anything? Uncle heard what Gu said. A moment later, the two entered the wooden house and surveyed the empty interior. Zhong Daojun said with satisfaction, Uncle only made that cabinet after Gu suggested it. What do you think? The house looks much tidier, doesn't it? Janali hesitated, but it's a bit dark. Zhong Daojun immediately turned his hand into a blade, cutting out a section of the wall. Really? Then Uncle will make you another window. He made a window for everyone. Janali cheered excitedly, it's so bright. I love it. Zhong Daojun stroked his chin and mumbled, if you like it bright, we'll need to install lights so it's not too dark at night. Janali asked curiously, lights? How do you install them? He explained, there's a kind of stone called a luminous stone that glows in the dark. If we hang a few on the ceiling, the whole room will light up. Under the red glow of the fire domain, lava flowed slowly like the veins of the earth. Gu looked up curiously, saying with great interest, Uncle knows where to find those stones. Kundagong nodded, his eyes shining with confidence, yes, we'll definitely find them if we go to the fire domain. But Gu's face immediately darkened, and he said in a low voice, the fire domain? That's a famous and extremely dangerous place in the hunter world, and it's also my hometown. Kundagong looked puzzled, frowning, it's just going back to your hometown, why are you so upset? Suddenly, Janali raised her voice, calling Gu with a clear yet slightly worried tone. Uncle, what is Gu saying? His voice sounds strange, as if something is making him sad. Gu's face was pale as he struggled in the little girl's arms, this child is too sensitive. Kundagong explained warmly, his voice deep but clear, Uncle guesses Gu is worried about us going to the fire domain. Uncle will go alone, you two stay here. Jean Nali immediately objected, her eyes sparkling, no, I want to go too. I'm not afraid of fire anymore. I want to go to the fire domain with Uncle. Koen Duogong sighed, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes. I didn't expect this child to overcome her fear so quickly. Gu suddenly called out, Gu, I'll go too. I have some matters to attend to there. Seeing how eager both of them were, Koen Duogong could only scratch his head and say gently, alright. Then let's all go together. Gu's eyes sparkled as he suggested, in exchange, I'll make some special equipment for you to use in the fire domain. Meanwhile, on the Mandela grassland, Nan Jishir's wig was secretly used as fertilizer by the plants, gradually merging into the soil. Sometime later, in the fire domain, a massive explosion distorted space, causing the monsters within to flee in panic. The fire domain, this notorious volcanic land, is one of the 3 most dangerous places that demon hunters avoid. The volcanic ash is sharp as blades, capable of tearing flesh. Toxic gases mixed with demonic energy, a single breath is enough to be fatal. Information about this place is almost non-existent in the human world. Suddenly, seeing Jean Nali playing in the magma, Gu shouted, what is that child doing? Koen Duogong replied indifferently, she's playing with fire. Gu? She seems perfectly fine, but why are you, Uncle, unharmed? What exactly are you? Koen Duogong pursed his lips and smiled mysteriously, me? I am a chimera hunter. Gu was still puzzled, I probably guessed that, but usually chimera hunters don't look human. Koen Duogong admitted, his voice low, I wasn't like this before either. But after rebirth, I took on a human form. And you, is it alright for you to be with us? You're a monster. Aren't you uncomfortable being near hunters? Gu gave a dry laugh and replied, it's fine. It's quite pleasant to chat with others, and you don't seem like bad people. Koen Duogong breathed a sigh of relief and smiled, that's good then. Just then, Jean Nali emerged from the magma, her feet shimmering with a metallic luster. Her voice full of interest, is Uncle chatting with Gu again? I want to chat with Gu too. Koen Duogong chuckled. She's curious about what we're talking about. Jean Nali's eyes widened. You too. Gu muttered helplessly, I'm the real local here. That little girl is too clever. After finishing her explanation, Jean Nali skipped along behind him. She asked, will the light stone be near the erupting lava? That means it's near the crater. Looks like we're almost there. As soon as she finished speaking, the girl saw the crater appear before her eyes. She excitedly jumped up. We're at the top of the mountain. Let me see. Jung Duogon looked down, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes. Oh, the light stone is right here. But is that a fire toad over there? A fire toad lifted its head, making a sound like crying. This strange sight made him disbelieving. That creature, is it crying? Jean Neely pointed ahead and shouted, Uncle, look over there. There's another one in front. Gu observed for a moment, then immediately understood. It seems the female died during migration. The one carrying eggs is the female. Female fire toads carry their eggs on their backs after laying them. Only females during breeding season would have such a concave back. But once the female dies, all the eggs will die with her. The temperature in the crater is too high for these eggs. Upon hearing this, Jean Neely's eyes welled up. Poor fire toad. It looks like it's sad because it lost its companion. Suddenly, Zhong Duogong stomped his foot heavily, and the ground trembled slightly. Jean Neely asked in surprise, Uncle, where are you going? Gu quickly warned, come back, Zhong Duogong. But it was too late. The fire toad spotted him. A finger with a sharp tip pierced through the fiery mist. Zhong Duogong lightly touched the toad's head, making it motionless. Wait, just lie still for now. He looked at the venomous needle on his hand, blood still oozing out, and said with emotion, this is paralyzing venom from Anika cobra. Only a small amount was injected, you'll wake up soon. The fire toad actually has venom resistance. Jean Neely stood on the crater and shouted, Uncle, are you alright? He looked up and replied, I'm fine. Uncle is protected by fire cells. It's already gone, and Uncle can't do anything about that, but the living ones can continue to live. Thinking this, he used cellular threads to firmly tie the egg sac to the fire toad's back. After a while, he clapped his hands and said, Uncle has tied them up. They should be able to recover. As soon as he finished speaking, he widened his eyes, watching the two toads huddle together in surprise. He thought, is it saying its final farewell? After bidding farewell to the female, the fire toad waved its claw and leaped directly out of the crater. Janali stared, dumbfounded. It actually flew away. Under the red glow of the sea of fire, lava surged like a river. The fire toad landed behind Janali, swept its sharp gaze over everyone, then leaped into the smoke and disappeared. Janali was still in a daze, muttering to herself, the fire toad glanced over here just now, it seemed like it was thanking us. Zhong Duogon watched the toad's retreating figure and smiled faintly. It should be so, because it saw that the female was already dead. He turned around, his voice low but firm. It's all right now. Let's go down the mountain. Hurry up and dig for the light stones, then we can go home. Janali mimicked his tone, responding excitedly, okay, we'll go back as soon as we finish digging. The little girl reached out, grabbed a glittering light stone, pulled it from the rock formation, and cheered, this one is absolutely beautiful. Zhong Dugan's gaze softened as he reminded her, be careful not to drop it on your foot, it'll hurt. Gu carefully picked up each light stone, placing them into a bag, but suddenly stopped. A hint of melancholy flashing in its eyes. Zhong Dugan turned his head curiously, what's wrong? You look tired. Gu looked weakly at the full bag of light stones, muttering, they were right in front of me, these things were so light, but now they've shrunk into this. Zhong Dugan understood the problem and turned away, his voice carrying, you don't need help. Why don't you go do your own thing? You brought the fruits to see your friends, didn't you? Gu blushed and retorted, how can a monster have friends? I wasn't planning on seeing anyone, I just brought the fruits to drop them off and leave. Zhong Dugan stroked his chin, asking seriously, shy? Missing your kind? Monsters with intelligence are indeed different. Gu couldn't help but object, I don't miss anyone. I just regret leaving without saying goodbye. Zhong Dugan continued to ask, but you left your tribe on your own. Gu stammered, its voice hesitant, well, having intelligence is a good thing. But it also has its downsides. It looked around, its gaze distant. It often looked at the animals around it, thinking, is this red? Is it dark red or light red? Why is it red? Suddenly, Gu's companion walked over and ate what it was looking at. Gu was stunned, why did it suddenly eat it? Never mind, it's impossible to explain. It sighed, but in this place without thought, and without language, I felt less lonely. So I left my tribe and lived alone. Perhaps my tribe doesn't even know I've left. They don't understand what companionship is at all. But why isn't this thing coming out yet? Suddenly, a light stone fell, making a strange sound. Janali shouted, there's a strange sound. She looked down and found an egg beneath the rock formation. Uncle, this egg. Zhong Dugan nodded, observing, it looks like a monster's egg. What kind is it? Is it spoiled? There was a small puddle of water. Gu might have accidentally dropped the light stone. He explained, a hatchling must break out of its shell by itself to grow strong. Janali asked worriedly, then what should we do? Let's just take it back. If we leave it here, it'll become a roasted egg. Gu immediately objected. What? What if something hatches from it? Chong Duo-jun pondered, muttering to himself, actually, there's an ideal nesting spot nearby. I also want to know what's inside. He decided, there's no other way, let's take it back. Janali cheered happily, great, thank you. Gu frowned, muttering incessantly, are you crazy? I've never seen an egg like this. Chong Duo-jun turned his head and asked, by the way, who dropped the lightstone? Gu stammered in defense, but what if Janali is in danger? Chong Duo-jun smiled and said, it's alright, I guarantee it. Gu reluctantly compromised, alright, it should be fine if someone's around. Chong Duo-jun instructed, it's decided then, take it back. Now let's dig for some more light stones. Janali said excitedly, okay, we'll go back as soon as we finish digging. A while later, at Chong Duo-jun's peculiar wooden house, the group returned under the fiery sunset. Janali cheered excitedly, we're home. Nan Jishua was sitting at the dining table, and hearing the sound, he turned his head, big brother. Chong Duo-jun was slightly surprised, ah, you're back so early too. Nan Jishua walked up and offered, give me the things, I'll carry them. Chong Duo-jun hesitated, thinking, why is he here? But he still handed over the bag of light stones. It was very heavy. Nan Jishua chuckled, I'm very strong. But when he took it, he exclaimed, why is it so heavy? Chong Duo-jun stared at him, oh, Nan Jishua, stop pretending, okay? What happened to your face? Meanwhile, in the fire domain, the egg Gu left behind was being devoured with relish by his companions. Back to the present, facing Chong Duo-jun's question, did you get into a conflict with someone? I didn't expect you to get into trouble so easily. Nan Jishua scratched his head, smiling wryly, even here, I often get hit by Nali. Chong Duo-jun said helplessly, you're really proud of that, aren't you? Nan Jishua awkwardly hurried to say, I'll go prepare some food. You must be hungry, I'll cook right away. A moment later, Chong Duo-jun turned his fingers into a chisel and carefully carved. Jean Nali stood by curiously, what are you doing? He honestly explained, I'm carving lightstones. They'll look nice hanging on the roof. Jean Nali suddenly understood, then her eyes lit up, you're so clever. You know so much, explain things clearly, and you're so kind. You're just like a father. Chong Duo-jun chuckled, is your father doing well in the pineapple tribe? He is, right? That evening, the setting sun cast a warm glow over the wooden house. Gu lay on the ground, enjoying it, the sunset is so warm, although it's not like the volcanic region, the target I'm looking for has already appeared. While he was lost in thought, a pair of small footsteps approached. The 3 pairs of blood-red eyes of the mandrake grass locked onto the fatty. One mandrake grass leaped up, using its mandrake grass skill, rolling around to attack. But for a fatty, this move was completely ineffective. After a dizzying spin, the fatty finally came to his senses and cried out, whoa, what was that? What happened? Jean Nali angrily shouted, why are they fighting again? Under the scorching red light of the volcanic region, lava flowed like the earth's veins. Zhong Daojun was not surprised, his voice low and steady, they are probably angry because the fatty intruded on their territory. Just then, Nan Jishua brought out the food, placing it on the table with a stiff smile. Thank you all for your patience. The sweet and sour taste is very appealing to children. Nan Jishua's sincerely prepared inari sushi contains 22 grams of carbohydrates, 19 grams of protein, and 18 grams of salt. Nan Jishua looked at the carefully arranged food, secretly satisfied. Simple yet appealing. The chubby man jumps up, eyes shining, praising, it looks really good. Nan Jishua spreads his arms, smiling brightly, come on, everyone, dig in. But Zhong Daojun wasn't in a hurry to eat. He turned his head and said seriously, first, you still haven't answered my question. I asked you, what happened to your face? Nan Jishua scratched his head in distress, his voice awkward. Well, the food will be gone in a moment. Nan Jishua began to recount, when I went to the Hunter Association to register for the exam, I ran into a few A-rank hunters. Zhong Daojun interjected, his gaze sharp, they mocked you for failing the exam 7 times. Then you got into a conflict with them and were badly beaten. Nan Jishua lowered his head and admitted, yes, they told me to stop getting in the way there. They kept taunting, even asking if my self-esteem had fallen out with my hair. Zhong Daojun interrupted, frowning, but isn't this hairstyle quite good? Why would they ask something like that? At the mention of his hair, Nan Jishua was instantly speechless, frozen in place. Zhong Daojun had to change the subject, so, when is your promotion exam? Nan Jishua immediately replied, next month, 60 days from now. Zhong Daojun stood up and announced, then we need special training. Nan Jishua happily promised, okay, I'll give it my all. But the first task Zhong Daojun assigned was, from now on, you'll wash the dishes for Jean Nali. Nan Jishua was stunned, wash dishes? Zhong Daojun pointed. Also, see those extra volcanic rocks over there? They're covered in volcanic ash, clean them too while you're at it. Nan Jishuo was horrified. Clean all of them? But you said this was special training. Zhong Daojun didn't want to explain further, turning to leave. If you don't want to do it, then just stay B rank. Jean Naley, let's go fishing to pass the time. Jean Naley skipped to the riverbank, cheering, that sounds like fun. Seeing them both leave, Nan Jishuo was dejected but still complied, muttering to himself. Well, Uncle must have a plan. Everyone thinks Nan Jishuo is a born genius. But I had to work incredibly hard to reach B rank. He mused, a person who has nothing but diligence and effort. Once a person makes up their mind, they will persevere. A person who failed 6 times will still try a 7th time. That person, who actually has everything, is still a good person. A while later, by the river, Jean Naley sighed in frustration, Uncle. Not a single fish is biting, all the fish swam over to that uncle. Nan Shishua, just washing the dishes, was chased and bitten by a school of fish. He cried out, Uncle, save me. The water type anomaly clashes with my attributes. It hurts so much. Chundu sighed softly, walked over, and asked, what's wrong? Just wrap your body with magic as a barrier. Nan Shishua scratched his head sheepishly. I'm still practicing, but it's not working very well. Chundu reached into his pocket, pulled out a lightstone, and handed it to Nan Shishua. Take this. Nan Shishua was puzzled. Just holding it is enough? But as soon as he touched it, the stone emitted magic. This is magic, right? I can't concentrate my power in my hands. Chundu explained, occasionally, there are lightstones with extremely dense magic. The magic in the demon realm is unpurified, it's raw energy. So you must use refined magic to activate it and wield its power. You already have enough magic within you, you're just not skilled yet. He pointed at several acupoints, helping Nan Shishua clear his energy flow. He looked at his hands, unable to believe it. This is? Chundu nodded. It should be clear now. Let the magic flow naturally. Now, concentrate on the magic and try to lift the light stone. Nan Shishua used all his strength, and after a struggle, he joyfully shouted, I lifted it. He was ecstatic. Just as I thought, washing dishes and the lightstone are all part of Uncle's magic training plan for me. Chundu smiled and said, then Uncle will leave the dishes to you. Circulate your magic while washing the dishes. Nan Shishua happily replied, leave it to me. I, Nan Shishua, am the one who can clean everything. A master of housework. That night, the quiet darkness enveloped the wooden cabin. The lightstone hanging from the roof emitted a soft glow, illuminating the 3. Chundu snored evenly, Nan Shishua drooled in his sleep, while the tall, thin Gu, leaning against the egg, frowned, thinking he shouldn't be sleeping in the evening. Suddenly, it sharply opened its eyes and saw Jean Naley standing up with a gloomy expression. Gu wondered, puzzled, why isn't this little one asleep so late? Under the faint glow of the luminous stone, Jean Naley walked to the river, looking at her clothes. Muttering that her clothes were all dirty, and these were even given by Uncle. It's fine, a wash will make them clean. Under the soft glow of the luminous stone hanging from the roof, Jean Naley happily washed her clothes, unaware that Gu was curiously watching her. Gu tapped Chunduojun's head, saying with dissatisfaction, she's a girl, yet she has no other clothes to change into. Chunduojun was a little embarrassed, muttering, it's nothing if Uncle has worn them for a long time. But just then, Jean Naley called out brightly, I'm done washing. All the dirt is gone. Chunduojun blamed himself, his eyes thoughtful. She's still just a child, after all. Could it be that Uncle isn't caring enough? Jean Naley put her hands on her hips, proudly showing off. The laundry task is complete. The clothes are as clean as new. Just then, Chunduojun and Gu walked out, pretending to casually look around. He spoke. Oh dear, the night wind is quite chilly. Jean Naley was startled. Huh? Why is Uncle here? Chunduojun smiled at her. Uncle and Gu came out for a walk. Are you also out enjoying the night breeze? Jean Naley, feeling a little guilty, agreed, yes, I came out for a walk. Chunduojun said gently, suggesting to Jean Naley, don't always wear the same clothes. How about we tie a belt like this, and add a flower here? What do you think? Isn't it cute? Jean Naley's eyes lit up, and she said happily, it's so pretty. It looks just like Uncle's. Chunduojun chuckled. This is your favorite lotus. Suddenly, a sound came from the nearby bushes, and Jean Naley screamed in fright, what was that sound? Chunduojun looked over, shook his head, and chuckled. It's nothing, just a grasshopper. Shall we go back? In the grass, a large, steel-level grasshopper was stealthily hidden. On the way back, Jean Naley breathed a sigh of relief, having been quite startled. Chunduojun walked along and asked, by the way, Jean Naley, do you need anything? Like clothes or shoes? Jean Neely replied casually, Uncle already gave me clothes. I really like this set. The next day, in the 13th district of the slums, a dungeon door opened. Chun Duo-jun walked out, constantly pondering. Jean Neely said it's fine, but letting her keep wearing ill-fitting clothes just doesn't feel right. Gu kept complaining, wanting to take her to choose clothes herself, but the human world might still be too dangerous for her. She still has a tracking device on her. How strange. Who would have thought Uncle would use a stone to open a door and return to the slums just to buy her children's clothes? Uncle remembers there's a clothing store here. Has it been that long? Is the store not here anymore? Suddenly, someone tugged at his clothes. A voice spoke up, Excuse me, are you looking for a clothing store? Ashur looked over. The service fee is only 10,000 yuan. I can take you to a clothing store. You're not from this area, are you? I know a place that's both cheap and good. Endigong replied coolly, I'll pay after I've changed clothes. I don't have any cash on me right now. The young man pouted, a hunter doesn't even have money? You must be a rookie who just entered the demon realm and got beaten badly. But he still turned to lead the way, looks like he still has money to buy clothes. Come with me, come with me. Usually, I charge up front, but seeing how pathetic you are, I'll make an exception this time. Endigong nodded and happily responded, thank you. Along the way, the two chatted. The young man introduced himself, my name is Peng Tu. I am John Endigong. John Endigong smiled and said, then I'll call you John. He looked around, thinking to himself, now there are even patrol cars. The slums are much safer than before. Suddenly, Peng Tu turned back and asked, you just awakened recently, didn't you? John Endigong was a little surprised, is it that obvious? Peng Tu said without looking back, it's clear at a glance. You didn't even bring any gear when you came out. That means you spent all your money on gear and then got robbed clean. But don't complain, who isn't like that when they first start? John Endigong chuckled, teasing, you're so young, yet you know quite a lot, don't you? Peng Tu turned his head angrily and shouted, what? I'm not a child. I'm only this short because I'm a picky eater. I'm already 17. After walking for a while, Peng Tu reminded him, oh, right, even though this entire area is a slum, you'd better not go to District 13. It's notoriously dangerous there. The Space Gang, originally from District 11, recently expanded their influence here. The police have given up, so no one dares to interfere anymore. This is District 12. John Endigong listened, thinking to himself, a Space Gang, huh? He wondered if the orphanage in District 13 was still there. Meanwhile, in a buy-one-get-one free clothing store, the female boss, Babian, sighed helplessly, thinking she must have been crazy to open a clothing store in the slums. Couples here don't even have money for children. Yet her store's main product was children's clothing. Should I switch to selling something else? Just then, the door opened, and Peng Tu entered with John Endigong, smiling, Sister Bei, I'm back. The boss got angry as soon as she saw him. You brat, didn't I tell you to call me sister? I'm not even married yet, and you're calling me auntie? John Endigong didn't pay much attention, looking around and exclaiming, this is my first time actually entering a clothing store to buy clothes. Peng Tu seriously introduced, this gentleman says he wants to buy clothes. Ah, he's a hunter. But Boss Bei got even angrier, pulling Peng Tu aside and shouting, hey, Peng Tu, come here for a moment. How much longer are you going to keep bringing those poor hunters here? Do you know how many tabs I've already run? Peng Tu muttered helplessly, how would I know if he has money? Boss Bei snapped loudly, her tone full of impatience, look with your eyes. Does he look like he has money? Peng Tu retorted defiantly, but he's handsome. Besides, you were the one who told me to bring those poor hunters back because they reminded you of your deceased younger brother. Boss Bei pointed at his face. You're the same. I've been homeless for ages. Who hired me to take care of you? I'm the one who buys things for you to eat, aren't I? I'm clearly the one who buys things for you to eat. Seeing the two arguing intensely, John Endigong interjected calmly, excuse me. I need to buy some clothes. I only have this much money. How much can I buy? Seeing the stack of banknotes in his hand, both of them widened their eyes, a large sum, easily over 1 million. Boss Bei snapped back to reality, slamming the table as he stood up. Coming here every day is such a surprise. Welcome to happy little world. From adult to children's clothing, I have everything you could possibly need. Are you buying clothes for yourself? John Dogon calmly replied, clothes for a preschool girl. Please help me pick out a few outfits. Boss Bei happily introduced, oh my, you've come to the right place. Children's clothing is my specialty. Let's start with this year's spring and summer collection. Make sure to include jeans. For kids who love to run and jump, comfortable clothes are the best, right? After an enthusiastic introduction, the cash register continuously printed receipts. Boss Bei looked at the pile of clothes before her, her eyes welling up. If every day could be like this, all the stock would be sold out. I never thought I'd sell hundreds of items at once. Do you need me to help you deliver them? John Dogon waved his hand. No, thank you, I can carry them myself. Bang Su, your share is here. I have something else I'd like to ask of you. A moment later, the two walked through the slum streets, carrying large bags. John Dogon thought to himself, his eyes brightening, buying new clothes really does make you happy. Soon after, Bang Su led him to an apartment building. And said, this is it. A stable and clean rental, just as you requested. There are police patrols nearby recently, so it's very safe, and the landlord is very kind. John Dogon pushed the door open, satisfied. Really? Please wait, I'll be right out. Oh Bang Su nervously peered inside, feeling that something wasn't quite right. Even if someone is rich, they wouldn't give a child like me 100,000 won and buy clothes. I heard many people are using money to lure children lately. I should run. But he muttered to himself, what if this person is as kind as Sister Bay? Just as he was thinking, John Dogon came out and exclaimed, as you said, the landlord is really nice, and it's very clean inside. Here, take this. You looked like you were burning up outside earlier. I've already paid a year's rent in advance. You can live here from now on. I also paid for food, so make sure to eat well. I'm leaving now. Oh Bang Su was half skeptical, looking down and biting his lip as he asked, if I go in, you won't kidnap me, will you? John Dogon, who was opening a portal, turned back with a confused expression. Ha? What did you say? You're the one who introduced me here. Wu Fingshou grew even more confused. If that's not it, then why? We've only just met. A finder's fee, money for clothes, and now even a place to stay. Why are you so good to me? John Dogon smiled, saying in a low, gentle voice, you remind me of my past self. I once lived like you, though that was a long time ago. Goodbye, see you later. A little while later, as John Dogon arrived home, Jean Neely shouted with her hands on her hips, you're back? Uncle, you didn't even say where you were going? He calmly replied, I went to buy fruit for the little one. At the mention of fruit, Jean Neely's eyes lit up. Fruit? The young man surnamed Gu looked at the pile of items, incredulous. Wow, you bought so much. Meanwhile, Nan Jishuo was still worried about not having clothes. Seeing Jean Neely pick out an outfit, he happily ran off, my new clothes are so pretty. John Dogon pinched his nose. Go ahead and try on whichever one you like. Jean Neely picked up an outfit, nodding, okay, I'll go change right away. Just then, the egg they had picked up suddenly stirred, and more moisture appeared on its shell. John Dogon sat down to fold clothes, thinking, after I started seriously folding clothes, I feel strangely relaxed. Jean Neely rushed out, shouting, Uncle, look at this one. I think this one is so cute. Seeing the little girl a bit shy, John Dogon praised her. It's really cute. Is this your favorite? Jean Neely blushed, I want to try on a few more. But when she tried on a pair of pants, she cried out, how do I wear these pants? Then she tried on an oversized outfit. I look like a ghost. And this one. So many cool clothes. John Dogon and the young man surnamed Gu couldn't help but laugh. This child is so excited, she's adorable. After all the fuss, Neely's fashion show finally ended. She jumped up excitedly, Uncle, I've decided which one to wear. The chick pattern in the middle perfectly matches my style. I love it so much. The young man surnamed Gu was speechless. He turned his head and asked, do you think it looks like something menacing? Zogon smiled and nodded. Very good. Does the little one want to fold the clothes herself? Neely excitedly raised her hand to volunteer, okay, let me handle it. Looking at the untouched pile of clothes in the bag, Zogan rubbed his chin in thought. But what should we do with this pile of clothes? There's no more space in the house. Gu agreed, yes, I was just thinking about that too. I plan to expand the house, add another dressing room, and then install built-in wardrobes. Zogan frowned, looking troubled. Won't that mean cutting down more trees? Gu turned and patted his shoulder reassuringly, don't worry, I've already arranged for someone else to take care of the tree cutting. A figure rushed over like an earthquake, with an imposing aura. Little mechanic, are you ready for special training? The young man loudly declared, Little mechanic is always ready for special training. Have you meticulously maintained my training uniform? Zugun asked in surprise, training uniform? What do you mean? Little mechanic instantly showed a look of horror and quickly explained, this tattered clothing is your training uniform, right? Right? Is it soaked in some kind of potent poison? Did you accidentally touch it and almost lose your life? This must be your unique training method, allowing you to push yourself to the limit even in daily life. Pushing yourself to the limit, even in everyday life. I truly admire you. I want to follow your example and cultivate even harder. Zugun could only smile bitterly to himself, thinking, I'm just too lazy to wash clothes. But then, a ruthless glint flashed in his eyes, and he commanded, then you put it on. Little mechanic trembled all over upon hearing this. Seeing his reaction, Zugun felt there was some truth to it. On second thought, this truly is the perfect training uniform for tempering one's will. Without hesitation, he ordered, I'm done training. You put this on and go chop some wood. Gu bloated from the side, I'll even help you pick out a few big trees. Little mechanic broke out in a cold sweat and cried out in panic. Wait, I might die if I wear this. Why are we suddenly chopping trees? Suddenly, Nali poked her head out from inside the house and urgently shouted, Uncle, that egg is acting strange. Soon after, the three gathered around the peculiar egg. After observing for a while, Zugun concluded, it's starting to shake violently. It seems like it's about to hatch. Nali's eyes lit up with excitement, really? In contrast to Nali's excitement, Little Mechanic's face turned pale with fear. This isn't going to be some disaster-level monster, is it? Nali retorted with a smile, of course not. A cute little monster is definitely going to hatch. Little Mechanic was still uneasy and mumbled, but who knows? Nali waved her hand, impossible. A few minutes later, the eggshell began to crack. A dazzling light shone through the cracks, and Nali and Little Mechanic exclaimed simultaneously, it's hatching. A sharp claw emerged from within, followed by a snake-like tail. And finally, its characteristic forked tongue. Nanshiwa was flustered, stammering, unable to speak, seeing the sharp claws, dense scales, and even a flicking tongue, looking furious. However, what appeared before them was a peculiar creature, a small golden snake that looked both cute and strange. Nanshiwa couldn't believe his eyes, exclaiming, this monster is actually a cute little yellow snake. What exactly is this? Is it a chick? Or a snake? What kind of creature is this, anyway? Nali didn't care about its origins, she cheered excitedly, so cute. Suddenly, the little snake darted out of its shell and pounced directly onto Nanshiwa's face. A piercing scream immediately echoed through the air. After a while, a small wooden stick tapped Nanshiwa on the head. Gu urged, hurry up, we still have a mountain of things to do. Nanshiwa gritted his teeth, feeling extremely wronged. This venom makes it hard to even breathe. I really don't understand how he usually survives wearing this thing. Meanwhile, Zugun had just finished folding clothes and stretched comfortably. It's been a long time since I folded clothes. It's actually quite interesting. Suddenly, Nali's voice came from behind him, Uncle, it's eating this bread. Looking at the little creature obediently eating, Zugun smiled slightly. It seems very well behaved and gentle. It probably knows this little girl saved it. Nali rested her chin on her hand, thinking, but what should we name it? Zugun immediately suggested, since it's half chicken and half snake, how about Chick Snake? Before Nali could answer, the little snake suddenly darted away, startling her. She cried out, hey, where are you going? Come back. Gu flew over and remarked, these two little ones are having so much fun. Zugun nodded in satisfaction. It seems Nali really likes this new family member. More importantly, is this creature a rare species? I've never seen one. Gu also shook his head, helpless. I haven't seen one either. However, if it's confirmed to be a monster from the volcanic region, we'll have to be especially wary of those mandrake grass guys. Zugun frowned in confusion. Mandrake grass? Why? Gu explained in detail that most monsters in volcanic regions consider plant-type monsters a delicacy. Because vegetation is scarce there, they eat whatever they see. They especially like plants with strong demonic energy. It will definitely find a way to dig up and eat the mandragora. In short, it might just be the natural enemy of the mandragora. No sooner had he spoken than the mandragora group opposite sensed the intruder and immediately gathered together. Gu waved, calling out, everyone, come watch this duel. Nanchi Wonyu asked blankly, what's going on? Zugun mused, it seems Gu's prediction was correct. Nali glowed, ready to rush out, Uncle, let me stop them. He reached out to stop her, hesitating for a moment, it's probably best not to let them fight. But this is the demon realm, they should at least determine a victor once. And it's still small, it doesn't look too dangerous. Let's observe for a bit first. Below, the two opponents eyed each other warily. The snake suddenly leaped up to attack. Nali shouted, it seems to be aiming for the smallest one, the third one. But its claws were blocked by a branch before they could even touch. Gu excitedly commented, the first one stepped in to block it. Good job. The mandragoras formed a triangular formation. They're defending first, then counterattacking. Immediately after, the second one charged forward. Gu continued to narrate, as expected, the second one is counterattacking, but that snake is no pushover either. It blocked with its tail, even grinning. However, it's too early to relax vigilance, because the third one is still there. The third mandragora gathered demonic energy in its hand and threw a full-force punch. However, the punch caused no harm, instead, it was hit and cried loudly. Nanchi Wonio scratched his head in confusion. No way, is it crying? Nayli said anxiously, I think it's just startled, being hit for the first time. So she rushed over to comfort it. Calm down, okay? Zugan shook his head and sighed. It seems the Mandragoras won today. The other two also agreed, truly wonderful and spectacular. It was indeed an exciting match. Zugan clapped his hands to remind them, the bugs are gone. Let's get back to work then. Gu immediately tapped Nanchi Wonio's head. Hurry up. Nanchi Snail complained unhappily, are you even human? Meanwhile, over a tranquil sea, the surface suddenly churned violently, and a bird person swiftly flew past. Back at the construction site, wooden pillars coated with snail slime were neatly arranged. Gu kept urging, faster. Nali happily played with the slime. I'm spreading so much, this is so fun. Zugun satisfyingly folded the new clothes and put them into the newly made cabinet. Days passed by like this. Finally, Nanchi Snail took off that poisonous coat. He collapsed to the ground. What's wrong? I finally made it through. 2 days without sleep. It was hell. I demand fixed rest periods. Anyway, I've built it as requested, but is this really okay? Looking at the somewhat peculiar expanded house, Zugun seemed quite satisfied. You did even better than I expected. Nanchi Snail exclaimed in surprise, better than expected? Nali rushed over to sniff, then praised, the changing room smells like flowers. Nanchi Snail then came to his senses, let me try, Now that you mention it, this scent is truly elegant. If I close my eyes, I'd forget I haven't slept yet. This actually makes me more relaxed. Nali asked curiously, but why does it smell like flowers? Zugun explained, Gu chose scented wood. Gu nodded proudly, the little one's clothes will also smell nice. The mandrakes also greatly enjoyed this fragrance. The little snake also curled up peacefully, sleeping soundly. Nanchi Snail suddenly remembered, this little one is called Little Snake. Nali pointed to Zugun, Uncle came up with it. Zugun shrugged, if you have a better name, you can change it. Nanchi Snail thought seriously, how about Snake Chicken? Zugun sighed helplessly, what kind of name is that? Nali also suggested, how about Pie? Zugun shook his head helplessly. Turning to Gu, he asked, what about you? Gu muttered ominously, the legendary footsteps in the drawer. Zugun interrupted with a smile, oh right, you said you have a true name, didn't you? What is it? Gu solemnly declared, my true name is Great Mountain Horsehoof, and it represents my true self. Zugun concluded coldly, there's no hope. I've decided. Let's just call him Little Snake. Everyone agrees. Everyone chimed in, alright, that sounds good, I like it too. Gu changed the subject, the house expansion is complete. What's the next plan? Zugun looked a bit dazed, plan? He suddenly remembered something and smiled mysteriously, I had an idea on the way back from the human world. I'd never considered something like this before. But it's different now. He seriously suggested, how about we build a sturdy fence around the house? That way, even when I'm not here, no one can just wander in. Nanchi Snail looked at the strange house and said doubtfully, no one is likely to come here now. Zugun immediately retorted, we can't be sure. An S-rank monster might appear, or hunters might come. Gu immediately agreed and suggested, then we'll need something very sturdy and filled with demonic energy. How about we go to the seaside? There's a kind of yellowish crystal there that's harder than hard stone. Building a fence with that material, and putting some glowing stones at the bottom, would also look very beautiful. A beautiful image appeared in Zugun's mind. It would feel like camping at night. He decisively said, alright, let's go to the seaside now. Nali cheered excitedly, we're going to the seaside. That's great. Completely the opposite, Nanchi turned pale with fright and stammered, what? The Asian coastal region? No, do you know what kind of place that is? He then showed a pitiful expression and pleaded, big brother, you should go back and absorb some more demonic energy. Zugun immediately agreed, alright, if we're back late, remember to take good care of the mandrakes. Nanchi earnestly warned, but big brother, even you need to be careful in the coastal region. Zugun noted it down with a confused expression. Nanchi quickly explained that the place was extremely dangerous, almost prohibiting anyone below A rank from entering. Most importantly, 2 disaster-level monsters rule that area. Zhuagong was even more surprised, 2 disaster-level monsters? Nanchi looked aghast, you actually don't know? They are hunter chimeras that escaped from the lab a long time ago. Their faces resemble birds, but their bodies are still human. Meanwhile, in the coastal region, the birdman was flying when it was suddenly ambushed by a group of hunters. It's here. Prepare the wind element equipment, the captain ordered. A subordinate immediately responded, yes, it's ready. A halo was thrown high into the sky, striking the birdman directly. It was a direct hit, but the birdman continued flying as if nothing happened, causing the hunters to panic. It's not attacking? Did it escape? People say it's disaster level, but maybe that's just a rumor. Should we pursue it? The blond man's companion quickly stopped him. No, there are two of them. Wait until they hide in their cave. The tracker is already on them, there's no need to rush. The blond man wondered, but 60 years have passed, they should have died or completely transformed into monsters by now, right? Why do their bodies still maintain a human form? Another person replied in a low voice, you could say they are failures. Regardless, the chimera hunters are still humanity's greatest achievement. Failures like them don't deserve to tarnish that glory. Today, we will eliminate these failures. Suddenly, someone in the team cried out in alarm, Captain. He looked up. What is it? Through the telescope, the person urgently reported, it didn't escape, it's flying straight towards us. The captain hurriedly shouted, quick, set up the barrier. Just as the barrier was deployed, the birdman swiftly approached. With just one simple attack, he shattered the fragile barrier. The people below widened their eyes in disbelief. He broke the barrier with just one move? Perhaps our judgment was wrong. Seeing the birdman charging again, the captain desperately shouted, what are you doing? Stop. Suddenly, Nali rushed out and blocked the attack. Don't bully the weak. The birdman froze, surprised, and Ela bird? He leaped backward, distancing himself from Zhuogong and his group. Nali grumbled angrily, that sparrow-like man is actually bullying people. Zhuogun calmly retorted, it should be the other way around, shouldn't it? Just then, a member trembled as he handed over a report, Captain. I suspect there's another mechanical creature recently. The captain roared angrily, what kind of nonsense are you up to now? The person stammered, explaining, because the client paid extra, I installed a tracker. Zhuogun helplessly ruffled Nali's head inside, that's right, the one Nali is carrying. What a hassle. Looking at the birdman, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly, I didn't expect to run into this guy again. He shouted loudly, hey, birdhead, don't you remember me? We used to be roommates. What number were you again? I can't believe you're still alive. Live long enough and you'll see anything. The birdman responded hesitantly, you, don't joke around. Voices of several hunters came from behind, Captain, that guy looks suspicious too. Let him handle it, then we'll retreat. Prepare to retreat. We'll regroup later. Zhuogun glanced over and muttered, if they just retreat like that, both of us will be in trouble. Let's deal with it here. The birdman didn't seem too concerned about the hunters, confirming inwardly. So it's you. This scent. I might forget many things, but I won't forget this scent. The scent only we know, the smell of the chimera cell fusion agent from the lab. Thinking this, he spoke, his voice low and nostalgic, long time no see. Number 17. Memories from 66 years ago flooded back. In the forest near the lab, a boy with bird feathers on his head desperately fled, tightly holding a little girl. The voices of a group of frantic pursuers came from behind, over here, catch them. The little girl's face was flushed, and she panted, brother, I'm so cold. The birdman only focused on running wildly, his heart filled with conflict. Just then, the spasms caused by the side effects struck again, tormenting him. He asked himself, was this the right decision? Even if I'm killed by those damned lab personnel, would it have been better to leave her there? If she completely turns into a bird with small wings, she won't be able to do anything. The girl pressed her face against the boy's feathers and whispered softly, brother's wings are so warm. Brother, I'm okay. Run. Those innocent words strengthened the boy's resolve. Auntie, just bear with it a little longer. Once we escape this forest, someone will come to help us. Suddenly, a powerful flashlight beam shone directly on the boy's face. Zhuogun stood there, indifferently blocking their path. Birdman exclaimed, Number 17, what are you doing here? Zhuogun replied in a flat, emotionless voice. Today, I heard the news in the lab. They said your side effects are so severe that you're about to be disposed of, so I came to talk to you about it. Birdman yelled angrily, you lunatic always help at the worst possible times. Zhuogun coldly interrupted, even if you escape, if you don't return within 3 days, the explosive device will activate and kill you. It seems your sister hasn't been scheduled for disposal yet. Wouldn't it be better to stay in the lab and take the inhibitors? At least you could live one more day, right? You have no idea how we feel. My head, my head. His sister's voice echoed in his ears. Brother, run. I want to live like before, even if it's just for one day. Thinking this, Birdman gently put his sister down, spread his huge wings, and with battle intent in his eyes, muttered to himself, what matters is how long one can live. No, what matters is how one lives. I just want to live freely, even if it's just for one day. He roared, shaking off those words, and charged forward. But the only response to his agitation was Zhuogun's calm gaze. A spatial portal suddenly opened behind him. Birdman was startled, a teleportation stone? How do you have something like that? Zugun didn't explain its origin, merely analyzing calmly. If we cross over to the demon realm, there will be two possibilities. Either our human cells will be corrupted by demonic energy, or our monster cells will absorb and activate from the demonic energy. If you're serious, this plan seems like the better option, doesn't it? Even if you can't resist the demonic energy and turn into a monster, at least you'll live freely until then. Because if we cross over to the demon realm, the lab's detonation device won't activate. Birdman asked hesitantly, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Is there any way to survive in the demon realm while maintaining a human form? Zugun pondered for a moment before replying, theoretically, you must accumulate enough demonic energy to protect your physical body and spirit from demonic corruption. With your current abilities, it certainly won't be easy, but no one can predict the future. Just then, the pursuers arrived, shouts erupting all around. It looks like the portal opened over there. Catch them. Birdman still hesitated, finally looking back at Zugun. I don't know why you're helping us, but I have to go. But, you know what? We've been roommates for 4 years, and we don't even know each other's names. My name is Bumu, what's yours? Zugun frowned, rudely repeating the question. My name? Back in the present, Zugun waved his hand, scattering a handful of shimmering pollen towards the center, clearly announcing, my name is Zugun. Then he turned to the group of fierce-eyed hunters and loudly asked, what is my name? They exchanged glances, their memories seemingly wiped clean, completely unsure how to answer. He continued to ask, why did you come here? The other party still looked blank. The hunters remained stunned, their eyes vacant. I don't know either. Seeing that the matter was resolved, Zugun opened a spatial gate and instructed, his voice carrying a hypnotic charm, the effect perfectly executed. Now, go in and forget everything that happened here. Yao Bai sniffed lightly, immediately detecting a familiar scent from the other person. He used forgetfulness pollen combined with hypnosis to erase those people's memories. Zugun, the one who transformed himself by implanting cells of A-grade forgetfulness grass, confirmed, that's right, I have forgetfulness grass cells implanted in my body. Approximately 3 hours of memories will be completely erased. Yao Bai couldn't help but exclaim at this wild act, don't you have any side effects? They implanted all sorts of things in you. He nodded in acknowledgement, a lot has happened since you left. You're number 33, and your name is Yao Bai, right? Yao Bai lowered his head, his voice low. I really didn't expect you'd still remember. Suddenly, Nali tugged at his sleeve, her big, round eyes full of questions. Uncle, are you and that sparrow uncle really friends? Zugun answered immediately without hesitation, yes, he's from the sparrow tribe. Oh, aren't the sparrow tribe and the coconut tribe allies? Nali, as if having found a treasure, nodded frantically. That's right, we're allies. Yao Bai was speechless beside them, secretly thinking, what's with this coconut tribe and allies? I have no idea what they're talking about. Nali stepped forward, bowed her head, and apologized, her face full of regret. Sparrow uncle, I'm sorry, I thought you were a bad guy. Suddenly, the little girl's stomach rumbled, breaking the serious atmosphere. But uncle, I'm so hungry. Zugun immediately turned to his old friend and asked, Yao Bai, where's your home? Do you have anything to eat? Yao Bai was utterly confused, his gaze shifting between the two, completely unable to understand the situation. Is this your daughter? Are you raising a child? Or are you playing some kind of role? A little later, in another uniquely shaped house, Nali was thrilled, exclaiming repeatedly, it's so beautiful. Is that Sparrow Uncle's house? It looks just like a real bird's nest. Gu flew around the house, praising it repeatedly, you built it so cleverly. Yao Bai served a few home-cooked dishes to entertain his guests. Come, try it and see how it tastes. These are my roasted clams, topped with the demon realm plant eternal nut and a red moss that tastes like red algae. Nali gasped, her mouth wide open, and shouted, it's so big. Zugun smiled, his eyes showing appreciation for the food. It looks delicious. Gu picked up a piece to try, then said, alright, give it a taste. The moment his tongue touched it, it felt like floating on the surface of the sea. This freshness made him feel as if he had swallowed the entire ocean, or the ocean had swallowed him. Nali also cheered excitedly, enjoying the delicious food, feeling the crispness of the clam meat dancing in her mouth with every bite. Zugun, with the demeanor of a noble, picked up a piece to taste. It's even more delicious with the red moss. Yao Bai nodded in agreement, but still couldn't hide his surprise. That red moss is a versatile seasoning. I'm glad you like it. Enjoy your meal. Just as he was about to get up, Yubimu's expression suddenly changed, and his whole body began to tremble violently. Nali suddenly rushed over with a fork, casually saying, Uncle Sparrow, I want more of this. Yubimu forced a smile, enduring the pain, and replied, I'm out of ingredients for today. What should we do? Nali immediately suggested excitedly, then if I go collect some seashells, can you make it again? Yubima hastily stopped her, well, yes, but it's a bit dangerous for a child to go collecting them. The little girl ignored the warning, excitedly rushing towards the sea. It's fine. I'm going to collect 10 of them. Gu also hurried after her. I guess I should eat more too. Once only the two of them remained, they began to open up and talk. Yubimu began, by the way, I heard you were resurrected by immortal cells. Your life truly is extraordinary. Do you plan to seek revenge on that laboratory? Daogun leisurely enjoyed life, replying, sometimes I do think about it, but my current life is pretty good, so I plan to take my time considering it. Do you want revenge? Yubimu avoided his gaze, turning his face away. You said all the spells on you disappeared after your resurrection. We still have the explosion spell remaining in our bodies. Once we return to the human world, we'll immediately explode. Daogun looked at his friend with some confusion. It seems he can control his wings now. But has his head returned to normal? Yubimu sighed deeply. I could make it normal, but I won't. Leah's face has already changed. If I were the only one who looked normal, she would surely be very sad. Daogun suddenly became serious, his voice low. I understand. Let me ask you one last thing. You know it too, right? You can only live for 1 more month at most. Yubimu trembled, letting out a tired sigh. You've already found out? Bringing this up, I realize there are so many memories. It was really difficult when I first came here. But I've tried my best to accumulate magic power, just to survive. At some point, I felt that the magic power and demonic energy reached a balance. That's why I've been able to live peacefully for so long. But not long ago, for some reason, Leah's magic core developed a problem, and the demonic energy within her began to run wild. I tried to force it open, but instead, I damaged my own magic core. Anyway, I've been trying my best to hold on. But Leah ate a fruit containing a hypnotic toxin and has been unconscious for a long time. Watching Yubelmo tremble as he recounted the tragedy, Zugin had already guessed part of the truth. It turned out she deliberately put herself into a coma to slow down the demonic energy's eruption. Mandrake. He threw out a keyword, then explained in detail, when the magic core is damaged, a potion made from mandrake can heal it immediately. You didn't know? Fool. Meanwhile, in a corner of this nest-like house, a poisonous apple rolled on the ground. In the dark depths, a girl tightly hugged her trembling brother. Finally unable to hold back and cried out loudly from outside. Yubelmo asked back in disbelief, his voice trembling with emotion, did you just say Leah and I can still live? Really? Zugin dusted himself off, stood up, and said, I've been studying pharmacology in the lab since I was 15, you probably didn't know that. As long as you drink a potion made from refined demonic vein water and mandrake roots. Mandrake, a plant-type monster, is famous for its screams when pulled from the ground. Although its roots seem insignificant, they sprout into new individuals after absorbing underground demonic energy, constantly reproducing, and are themselves a source of vitality. Perhaps for this reason, potions refined from its roots have a special effect in repairing the magic core. I never thought this thing would be useful to me. It seems keeping mandrakes was indeed the right choice. I'll go get some. Yubelmo was startled, you're going to get it yourself? Zugin confirmed the plan, to refine the water, an alchemist must be found, but you cannot go to the human world due to your curse. So while I'm gone, I'm entrusting those few people to your care. Yubelmo lowered his eyes and said gratefully, I owe you again. Zugin suddenly remembered something important and asked, oh, right, the alchemist will demand payment. Do you have anything? Yubirmu spread his hands in confusion. I don't even have money. A moment later, a large backpack was heavily placed on the ground. Zhuogong looked suspiciously at the pile of items. Why did you bring so much stuff? Yubirmu scratched his head awkwardly. I prepared everything a hunter usually brings when coming here. Do you think this is enough? After a quick check, Zhuogong firmly replied, this is definitely more than enough. He slung the backpack over his shoulder. Alright, I'm off then. A moment later, in the human realm, Feng Su asked curiously while leading the way. You mean you're looking for an awakened alchemist? Zhuogong followed behind, nodding slightly. Yes, and they must be skilled. Feng Su guaranteed without hesitation, trust me, the Alchemist Association even opened a branch in the slums last year. You're sure to find someone there. Zhuogong was a little curious about the boy's strange attire. But why do you have sandbags tied to your limbs? Feng Su looked at the sandbags and explained enthusiastically. I'm exercising to build my stamina. I want to become as strong as you. Zhuogong was stunned. Like me? Feng Su said with a face full of admiration, you can enter the demon realm barehanded. You must be a very powerful hunter. I want to be like that too, so I eat a lot and train hard. Zhuogong chuckled inwardly upon hearing this. On closer inspection, the child really seemed to have grown taller, he must be in a growth spurt. A moment later, Feng Su led him to a dilapidated shop and said, we're here. Not long ago, a branch manager named Jean came here. I heard he's very skilled. And a good person too. Mid-sentence, he turned his head and pointed to an uncle in the distance. That's him. The uncle was sweating profusely, his face pale as he answered the phone. You know, for over 20 years, I've never missed an interest payment. Feng Su explained to Zhuogong, it seems he's on the phone with a loan shark again. Zhuogong was a little surprised and repeated, loan shark? Feng Su nodded in confirmation. Yes, borrowing money here is quite common. He originally worked at the Golden City branch for 20 years, but was recently demoted and transferred here, and it said his salary was also cut. Zhuogong reasoned logically that if he was demoted, he must have made some mistake. But Feng Su immediately denied it, defending him, saying there was absolutely no such thing. I heard that in Golden City, one of his superiors secretly embezzled relief funds meant for the slums. That guy was notorious for stealing subordinates' achievements and various despicable acts. In short, when Branch Chief Jean reported this matter, he was branded a troublemaker and then driven away. Back to the present, Branch Chief Jean was walking uneasily when he suddenly heard someone call his name. He looked up, unable to believe his eyes. Feng Su, what are you doing here? You've grown quite a bit again. Feng Su greeted him with concern, how have you been lately? This gentleman is looking for an alchemist. Zhuogong stared at him, silently assessing. Generally speaking, it's not easy to find a high-level alchemist around here. Feng Su has been working hard lately. I didn't expect such talent to be in this area. This kid Feng Su is really something. Feng Su simply greeted them and then turned to leave, giving the two some space. Then I'll go cultivate. Please excuse me. Branch Chief Jean also happily replied, take care of yourself. Then let's go inside. Meanwhile, in the shabby office, a young man looked at the floor with disgust, muttering about what kind of superior he had ended up with. At most, some low-level hunters come to buy a few low-level potions. What kind of performance can be reported? Want to get promoted in this lifetime? That dream has long since vanished. Just then, the office door opened, and the young man sprang up like a coiled spring. Branch Chief, you're back. Branch Chief Jean nodded and instructed, assistant, get me some water. Zhuogong was direct, shaking his head and getting straight to the point. I'll be blunt, I don't have time. It seems you're an A+ grade alchemist. Can you easily make mana-purifying water using mandrake? I need about 2 liters. Branch Chief Jean pondered with difficulty, full of suspicion. Mandrake in this kind of slum? That's ridiculous. And how would he know my level? He nervously pushed up his glasses and said, I can do it. But where would I find such precious materials here? Zukuin didn't mind, taking out an item and placing it on the table. Will this do? Branch Manager Jin's eyes widened in disbelief at what he saw. This thing is. This dense demonic energy, there's no mistaking it. This mandrake and its freshness are as if it was just picked. I've never seen one in such good condition. Zukuin continued to open his backpack and said, I'll pay for the crafting with coastal specialties. Please appraise everything here. Seeing the items he produced, he was once again shocked to the point of nearly fainting, simply unable to believe it. Are these really from the coastal regions? Even the main association has never seen S-rank black pearls, let alone 3 giant clams from the demon realm. The deputy director of the North District, standing by, also muttered in disbelief, these things are still alive. The two picked up the last item, their mouths agape. This is red moss, a core ingredient for high-grade medicinal herbs. Isn't this that extremely rare item that was just recently discovered? Zukuin's expression remained unchanged as he coldly retorted, are these enough to cover the crafting fee? Branch Manager Jean quickly replied, his voice trembling, enough? Is it enough? It's more than enough. The value of these items even exceeds buying an entire building. The deputy director of the North District proposed, confused, I need to bring over the lab's appraisal equipment. Branch Manager Jean immediately agreed, of course, such valuable items must be appraised with professional equipment. The deputy director of the North District immediately volunteered, I'll go right now. Suddenly, Zukuin's gaze fell on something nearby, and he asked curiously, didn't you say there was no mandrake? Isn't this mandrake? Branch Manager Jean followed his gaze and explained, that one is already dead. Its medicinal properties disappeared about 10 years ago. I was interested in mandrake research before, so I kept it, but... Zukuin picked up the withered plant and stated with certainty, this one is still alive. Branch Manager Jean looked puzzled, What are you talking about? Zukuin injected demonic energy into the item in his hand, and the mandrake in the bottle immediately began to bubble. He affirmed again, this one is still alive. See? It reacted immediately when I infused it with demonic energy. It merely ran out of demonic energy and was in a dormant state. Give it some more magic power. Branch Manager Jean was struck dumb, jumping up in disbelief. Impossible, I've already given it so much magic power. Just then, the door was roughly pushed open, and 3 strangers walked in.
Director and asked in an arrogant tone, "Are you alright?" Branch manager Gene. "Your office looks like a second-rate slum. Like a lone shark's den." Branch manager Gene stammered in fear, "Why are you here?" Director and immediately turned his gaze to the valuable items on the table, and exclaimed excitedly, "Ah, so it's here. I heard something extraordinary appeared in the slum." Branch manager Jin's expression changed. He thought, could the North District Deputy Director have already reported to Directorin? But he still tried to remain calm on the surface, responding, "You arrived so quickly." Directorin said proudly, "Unlike you, I have excellent subordinates. Remember, they are outstandingly capable, they are twice as fast as others." Then he turned to Zhuogong and asked in an arrogant tone, "Are you the one who brought these items?" Zhuogong was stunned, asking blankly, "If that's the case, then what?" Directorin introduced himself again, in a condescending manner, "I am the Internal Security Executive Director of the Jinchang branch of the Metallurgical Association. Come with me to Jinchang, and I will ensure you receive the awakening you deserve." Zhuogong silently calculated. He merely maintained a harmonious relationship with the head of the Jin branch. What a bother! Directorin continued to act haughty, adding empty rhetoric, "In this remote place, you will never realize your true potential. If you sign an exclusive contract with me, you will receive an advance payment, and of course, tax benefits." Before he could finish, Zhuogong interrupted him with an irrelevant question, "Is that spot next to your nostril a mole?" Directorin gave a dry laugh, "That's right." Zhuogong continued to ask, his voice growing colder, "Is your surname An? What is your relationship with An Budu?" Directorin proudly introduced his family lineage, "It seems you know my grandfather. He was indeed a recipient of the Golden Peace Prize, and I am a direct descendant of An Budu." Before he could finish boasting, Zhuogong uttered a dismissive remark, "Such rotten jealousy." A horrifying memory flooded his mind like a black and white bloody film. This monster doesn't even look human, and it's still looking for its mother? But you're a chimera now, so your parents are probably in the underworld, right? How about I open the gate to the underworld and shove you right in, so you can run and beg your parents for help? Thinking this, rage burned within him, and he unleashed the magic around his body. Directorin was forced to his knees by the terrifying pressure. Zhuogong's cold questioning voice was like a call from hell. "So you really are just like your grandfather? Abusing power to bully others, and once greed swells, doing whatever you please." Directorin gritted his teeth, struggling painfully, "What are you talking about?" Zhuogong's gaze was as sharp as a blade. "Father asks you, you'd better answer this question carefully. That laboratory, does it still exist?" Directorin trembled all over, not understanding the question. "That laboratory? I've never heard of that name." Zhuogong continued to press, increasing the pressure. "You don't know that Bodwu once headed an illegal chimera research laboratory?" Branch head Jin Napu, overhearing the conversation from a distance, was greatly shocked. And Bodwu, who received the Golden Peace Prize, worked in an illegal laboratory. Although Directorin here was trembling under the pressure, he still gritted his teeth and retorted, "Don't insult the deceased. My grandfather dedicated his entire life to research, saving and nurturing the younger generation at the university. After retirement, he even donated all his assets to the families of the victims of the gate incident. It was precisely for this contribution that he also received the Golden Peace Prize." Zhuogong scoffed upon hearing this, full of disdain. After secretly harming so many children, he probably wanted to repent in public. "I thought he, as an awakened, would live longer, but I didn't expect him to die earlier than I imagined. Could it be a sequela from falling out of a window?" Directorin looked at his hands in disbelief, trying to lift his head and widen his eyes. "The public doesn't know about this." "How do you know?" Zhuogong retorted sarcastically, "Why? Because I was the one who pushed him. After turning those kidnapped children into chimeras, he even threatened to push them into the gate, so I acted first. I'll give you a chance. Go back and immediately investigate the Inbo Empire and the Tila Laboratory. When the time is right, I will come find you." Speaking of which, he couldn't help but feel a rush of emotions, recalling his painful past. He never expected to encounter the grandson of the Amber Empire here. "I was barely 9 years old when I was first forced to participate in the chimera biological experiments. After that, my monsterization process began when I was 20. Since then, my memories have become blurry, as if I were in a world where civilization had vanished. Perhaps I only knew how to obey orders and act on instinct, having lost my consciousness and reason. Thinking about it, a lot of time has indeed passed. The laboratory's name has probably been changed several times by now." A moment later, after those people left, the Gold Dust branch manager emerged from the dimly lit room, holding a potion bottle, and thanked the other party for waiting. "This is a mana pit essence refined from mandrake." Dogon took the potion bottle, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. That was fast. As expected of an A-rank alchemist. It only took about 30 minutes.
The gold dust branch manager nodded, confirming that the raw materials were of high quality and the process went very smoothly.
Dogon replied, then I will pay for the remaining raw materials now. He smiled, offering an enticing suggestion, what do you think?
If you sign a personal contract with me, I will give you all the remaining synthesis materials. The contract term is about 10 years, and I will be responsible for providing the raw materials. You only need to handle the synthesis part. The gold dust branch manager was stunned, unable to believe his ears.
You're giving all of this to me? Dogon countered, his tone relaxed, and it's an exclusive contract. You said selling it could buy an entire building. Isn't this a good deal? Overwhelmed with emotion, the gold dust branch manager couldn't help but burst into tears. This scene confused Dogon, who secretly wondered why he was crying.
Sobbing, he explained, actually, I'm from the slums here. When I was a child, my parents incurred a huge private debt. I said I would pay it back for them. But even after striving my whole life, I've remained stagnant.
How can I repay this kindness? Let's work well together from now on. Thank you so much. Dogon smiled in response, what is it? Has it been arranged?
I'll have more things to trouble you with in the future.
He turned and left. So, should we go back now? I hope nothing happens.
Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Yao Miao was lifted high by Dia. His heart was dead silent, blaming himself for this. He should have expected to anger her. He pleaded tearfully, Dia, please calm down. But Dia just made a bleeding sound, her eyes filled with rage, and then threw him far away with force. Yao Miao lay on the ground, sighing helplessly to himself, it seems it's too late. Suddenly, a childish voice rang out, Uncle, are you okay? Gu and Neli asked Han with concern, does it hurt? Why did you let yourself get beaten like this? Yao Miao gritted his teeth and muttered, but don't worry, Dogon, I will definitely keep my promise. He struggled to stand up, spread his wings, and resolved, because you've already saved us once. Dia, please be happy in your next life. Just as the two were about to pounce on each other again, a giant jellyfish fell from the sky, pinning Dia down, leaving Yao Miao dumbfounded. What is this? Dogon sat leisurely on the jellyfish's back, smiling as he asked, she should be unconscious, right? Neli excitedly shouted, it's that uncle. Yao Miao's eyes widened as he looked at the strange creature, a jellyfish? Dogon explained, this is my sister. For a girl, it's a bit. Dogon pouted, it's very soft. Then he retorted, do you have a better way to control her? Yao Miao wiped his tears, turned his head, then there's still medicine. Dogon nodded and smiled, pulling out 2 bottles of the earlier medicine, of course, I've already got it. Quickly give it to her. This bottle is for you too. That night, by the blazing bonfire, the 2 bottles of medicine had been consumed. Jia and Neli slept peacefully on the straw mats. Suddenly, her eyes flew open, and what she saw was Neli drooling in her sleep right in front of her. She frantically clutched her head and looked around, where am I? Soon, she heard movement nearby. Dogon and Yao Miao were sitting by the bonfire, talking. Dogon also noticed she was awake and turned to look. Jia recoiled in fear, hugging herself and shouting, who are you people? Neli groggily woke up, rubbed her eyes, and asked, what sparrow? You're awake? Jia repeated in surprise, what sparrow? Yao Miao turned her head and said, you're awake? Jia, can you check your magic channels yourself? Jia was stunned after hearing this. What about my magic power? She concentrated and felt for a moment, then exclaimed in disbelief in her mind, it's already back to normal. She touched her face. Her face had also returned to normal. Look. She hurried forward and asked, Big brother, what happened? And who are these people? Fu Ping stood up and replied, don't you recognize this person? After all, you've been clamoring to see him. Well, maybe it's been too long since you last saw him? Jia started searching her memories after hearing this, vaguely guessing, no way. The image of the little boy playing the flute overlapped with the ancestor lord in front of her. She exclaimed, number 17, is it really number 17? Fu Ping nodded in confirmation, yes, that's right. He saved us again this time. The ancestor lord suddenly turned his head and asked an unrelated question, is there any red algae left? Fu Ping shook his head helplessly, this is all that's left for today. Jia could hardly believe her eyes. It really is number 17. He has no sympathy at all. Saying this, she took off her bone mask and, smiling happily, thanked him, anyway, thank you for saving us. Suddenly, a light shone on the sea, making Nali curious. What's that? Something is sparkling on the surface of the sea? Jia put her mask back on and explained, those are sea fairies. It's a bit embarrassing to have had this mask off for so long. Nali asked in confusion, sea fairies? Jia then explained, actually, they are seahorse monsters that live in the deep sea, but we gave them this nickname because they look like fairies when they play. They surface at night to play, and when the sun rises, they return home. If the little ones follow the sea fairies then, they can find glowing yellow crystals.
The ancestor lord was startled and abruptly stood up. Crystals? I completely forgot my original goal. He asked Obeimu, how much longer until dawn? Although Obeimu didn't quite understand, he still replied, it should be soon. The ancestor lord took a deep breath and muttered to himself, it seems I'll have to go for a swim. It's been a long time since I've swum, too. Meanwhile, in a laboratory, a bald old man asked, what about the whereabouts of the mechanical creature?
A subordinate reported, about 10 B-rank hunters have spotted it a few times in the forest, but they all failed when trying to capture it.
Currently, it seems to be hidden somewhere in the coastal area. The old man repeated in disbelief, the coastal area?
His subordinate added, A-rank hunters have already gone to the coastal area. Previously, everyone returned in a state of amnesia. However, the mechanical creature's location data is still saved on their tracking devices.
Just then, his phone rang.
He immediately answered the call, greeting enthusiastically, long time no see, Chairmanin. Chairmanin yelled into the phone, exasperated, yes, Doctorin, it has indeed been a long time.
There's something I'd like to ask. I wanted to ask if you happen to know of a place called the D Research Laboratory?
The old man immediately replied without hesitation, I've never heard of such a place. Chairmanin tried to remind him, it's an illegal laboratory that has existed for a long time.
But the old man firmly denied, Chairmanin. The Handet Research Institute is not that kind of research facility. He awkwardly apologized, that's not what I meant.
Hearing this, the old man smiled contentedly, Professor Nbodyu has always taught me to be an upright and honest researcher. I, Han Myongdu, have never forgotten my mentor's teachings. Well then, I'll take my leave first. After hanging up, the old man was somewhat puzzled.
Why would the name of an illegal laboratory come from that man's nephew?
Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, and Han Myongdu had to temporarily set aside his thoughts.
Come in.
Immediately after, a researcher walked in excitedly, carrying a briefcase.
Director, it's a success. Han Myongdu happily ran over, really? The other person confirmed, yes, according to your instructions. The combination of liquid metal and mandrake has been completed.
The old man squinted, smiling at the sample.
Mandrake, liquid metal. It seems the effect of this combination is quite good. Mandrake is a monster with strong instincts and powerful cohesion among its kind.
Their sensory abilities are also exceptionally outstanding. And we combined it with liquid metal, which has extremely strong connective properties. Fortunately, some were still left. This chimera, formed by the combination of the two, will surely find the mechanical creatures faster than any tracking device.
Thinking this, the old man waved his hand and ordered, increase the bounty threefold and immediately notify the A-rank hunters to act.
My life's masterpiece, I must get it back no matter what. On the other side of the door, Ubrim stood by the sea, waiting. He shook his head helplessly and said, made of quartz, it's exactly like his eccentric style. Last night, Zogong had invited them, saying, everyone, come to my place to hang out too. I have a decent chef at home, though he's a bit nosy. Ubrim asked suspiciously, your place?
A chef? Don't tell me you live under a graveyard.
Zogong recalled nostalgically, actually, after living there for a while, it's quite comfortable.
Ubrim couldn't help but ask curiously, how did you manage to come to the human world? Zogong retorted, do you want to go back?
Ubrim remained silent, then nodded after a moment, admitting, well, it's not that I have any fond memories of the place, but sometimes I wonder what it's like now. Hearing this, he said seriously, the lingering magic on you, perhaps I can help you remove it.
Ubrim was greatly surprised, what? How is that possible?
He explained, there's an alchemist named Jean Guanli. He created the water of refinement.
He's quite formidable.
I'm planning to ask him to research various types of magic.
If you're interested, you can tell me. There's a world of difference between not wanting to go and not being able to go. But don't get your hopes up too high. Ubrim fell silent again, then couldn't help but cry out, why? Why do you always help us, when we've never done anything for you?
Zogong looked up at the starry sky, his gaze nostalgic.
When I see you two brothers, sometimes I wonder, is there anything more important than survival in this world? I think, perhaps by helping you, I can find the answer. Back to reality, bubbles gurgled on the water's surface. Ubrim watched intently below, it's coming out.
Immediately after, Jello leaped out of the water, grabbed a golden thread tied to a rock, and threw it over.
Brother, catch it. Ubrim did as told but was bewildered, what is this? Jia didn't explain, but urged, pull now. Ubayermu was sweating profusely from exhaustion, why is it so heavy?
A moment later, the silk thread tightened, pulling out from the water a huge golden fishing net filled with crystals.
Ubayermu was dumbfounded, crystals? Did you mine all these crystals by yourself?
Immediately after, Zhuagong and Nali floated up from the water. Seeing the little girl, he said happily, I'm so happy, I haven't swum in a long time.
Nali was also excited, I feel very happy too. Last night, Nali and Leah put seahorses on their heads and swam down. They cheered at the piles of crystals on the seabed. The sea fairy's home looked like a golden palace. I really hope we can go again next time. Zhuogong smiled and said, alright, let's go. Looking at the crystals piled up like a small mountain, Yubier Mu hesitated, but how do you plan to move all these back to the forest? Before he could think of an answer, a huge shadow already loomed overhead. Zhuogong calmly said, we'll find a way. Yubier Mu asked in horror, huh? Is that a nautilus? Why would this social creature appear alone? Nali excitedly waved, is that a parrot? It looks so beautiful. Leah said coldly, it's only beautiful from a distance. You'll change your mind up close. They are over 4 meters long and extremely fierce-tempered. That's why we don't dare to provoke them. Zhuogong kept staring at the monster, and Yubier Mu vaguely guessed his wild idea. Hey, you're not actually going to do that, are you? He smiled and confirmed, I was just thinking, we need a perfect means of transportation. A moment later, beside the mandrake garden, Nanshiwa was sitting cross-legged, cultivating. Feeling the surging magic power within him, he thought to himself. He must have felt his magic pool grow larger. At this rate, becoming an A rank might no longer be a dream. I wonder when Zhu Kuan will return. Lost in thought, a loud bang suddenly echoed. Nanshiwa's face turned pale at the sight. What's going on? He saw 3 hunters nearby, constantly massaging. One of them roared, hey, don't make that face, or I'll melt you down. Suddenly, one person looked up, saw Nanshiwa, and they all started discussing, what's happening? Isn't that the bald Nanshiwa? It really is him. What's with that hair? Have you become a savage now? Nanshiwoniu instinctively covered his head in shame. These people were the A-grade guys he met when he signed up for the exam. He couldn't help but recall how he was severely beaten by this group before, almost to the point of wanting to give up and become a monk. The leader threatened, do you want me to pull out the rest of your hair too? Seeing them here, he was a bit confused. What were they doing here? Suddenly, 3 mandrakes rushed out and blocked his way. Those guys whispered curiously, no way. Are they wild mandrakes? How much are 3 wild ones worth? Quick, catch them. The blonde man actively squatted down, spreading his hands, are you angry? Because we invaded your territory? Good boy, come here. Nanshiwonia gnashed his teeth in anger, no, Zukan really likes them. I must protect them. Suddenly, the chubby mandrake circled behind him, gathering power. As it stomped its foot, an earth-shattering explosion rang out. Amidst the swirling smoke and dust, the panicked voices of the 3 hunters came through. What happened? An earthquake? Euphone and Leah landed from the parrot's back and asked, second brother, is this the place? But who are they? Leah, not yet fully awake from the medicine, mumbled. How many houses can there be in this forest? Are we at an inn? Not far away, the crocodile parrot was sweating profusely, panting with its tongue out. Nelly sat on top, complaining, hey, you're too slow. Zukan nodded in agreement, maybe I was a bit too forceful when taming it? Now I'm starting to feel a little sorry for it. Meanwhile, Nanshiwonio covered his head and exclaimed, what in the world happened? That's clearly a disaster-level monster said to live in coastal areas. How did it end up here? He couldn't help but recall Zukan's instructions, alright, I must go to the beach immediately. His face turned pale as he remembered that Big Brother and Nelly had already gone that way. Don't tell me something happened to them. If that's the case, even if I'm unwilling, I'll have to cooperate with these thugs. But before these 3 thugs could make a move, someone beat them to it. Bayer Mu approached and asked, are you Zogon's GLN chef? Judging by the hairstyle, it must be him, right? Nanchi Chuwu stumbled back in fear, monsters can talk? Wait, Zogon's chef? So you know about our big brother? Bayer Mu happily confirmed, he's our friend. This made Nanchi Chuwu even more confused. A disaster-level monster is Big Brother's friend? What kind of life does he even lead? Bayer Mu then looked at the 3 thugs and asked, but who are these people? They don't look like guests at all. Nanchi Chuwu hesitated, pondering this matter. Wait, could this be a good opportunity? Thinking this, he gritted his teeth and sneered, pointing at the group of hunters, they're the scoundrels who tried to steal Big Brother Zogong's mandrake. Upon hearing this, the 3 men's faces turned pale, completely drained of color. An hour later, the forest returned to peace. Suddenly, a bird chirped, and a heavy object fell from the sky, hitting the ground with a loud thud. It was Zogong and his group officially returning. Zogong took a deep breath. There's no place like home. Looking at the parrot lying motionless on the ground, he felt a little doubtful. Is that crystal really that heavy? You worked hard, rest now. Leah's eyes widened in disbelief, you told us to go first. And you actually tamed that monster? Yubier Mu, however, was starting to get used to this absurdity. Well, it is Zogong, after all.
Guin, dizzy from the flight, rolled off the bird's back and exclaimed after bumping into someone's foot.
It's been a long time since I flew this high.
But when he saw the three thugs tied up, he gasped in surprise, what's going on?
These people. Zogun looked over in surprise, HM? 3A rank hunters, what happened?
Yubirmu explained on their behalf, they probably tried to steal the mandrake.
But I always feel like something isn't quite right.
Yubirmu could only scratch his head upon hearing that.
Actually, Leah turned to Nayli to change the subject. Jean Nayli, would the little one like to show us around your home?
I heard the valley over there is very beautiful. Nayli excitedly waved her hands.
Yes, there's a beautiful waterfall there too.
Come with me, I'll teach everyone how to catch frogs.
After the little girl walked away, Yubirmu revealed the truth. That place is called Hangwang Research Institute. It seems they're still looking for Jean Nayli. Those three people were hired by them. Upon hearing this, Zugu immediately remembered. Hangwon, that's the lab where Nanji Luasi got the tracking device. I knew those hunters would come.
It seems Jean Nayli has a special tracking device on her that works in the demon realm. But Jean Nayli and I are currently in the coastal area.
How did they manage to find us here?
Yubir was also a bit stunned hearing this.
Probably because of this little fellow. Zugu took the metal mandrake and pondered for a moment.
They combined the mandrake with liquid metal.
Was it to track Jean Nayli?
Yubir confirmed, they said liquid metal attracts each other. Zugu continued, so, after this guy arrived in the forest, it was attracted by its kind, those mandrakes, and eventually found our home.
Yubir nodded. Yes, they also said they're heading to the coastal area next. It seems they won't let Jean Nayli go. What a hassle. Zugu looked at the group of mandrakes again, thinking, I need to come up with a plan. What's wrong?
The chubby mandrake provocatively pointed at him. He suddenly understood and chuckled, so, it wants me to hand over its kind.
Even if it's a hybrid creature, its kind is still its kind.
Here, take it.
But the chubby mandrake kept yelling. Zugu suddenly remembered, oh right, there's that one too. How did it know the other one was in my pocket?
Looking at the two skinny mandrakes on the ground, he felt a little emotional.
These two look so pitiful. Where did you get this skinny one?
Zugu recalled, it was originally raised by an alchemist. I just agreed to help take care of it.
I remember he asked at the time, do you want me to adopt it? Branch President Jean regretfully replied, I think this would be better for it.
So I hope you take good care of it. As soon as Zugun took it, he burst into tears.
He replied somewhat awkwardly, I will.
And now, two sturdy mandrakes quickly dug 2 holes.
The remaining one urged the 2 weaker ones to burrow in.
As soon as they buried themselves in the soil, they couldn't help but happily absorb the nutrients.
Yubirmu was shocked. Their affection for their own kind is truly astonishing. Zugun nodded in agreement, his gaze softening. Fortunately, there are no territorial disputes or anything. They should adapt quickly. By the way, have you seen Nan Shishua?
He should have been back by now.
No sooner had he spoken than Nan Shishua's heart-wrenching cries echoed from afar. Brother, I'm back.
Leah flapped her wings like a little chick, flying in after him. As soon as he landed, Nan Shishua pounced on Zugun, wailing, I was so worried. Zugun immediately pushed him away, frowning in confusion.
What's wrong with you?
Leah spread her hands, sighed helplessly, and shook her head. I saw him alone in the water, being terribly nibbled by fish.
It was truly pitiful.
Nan Shishua explained awkwardly, his face flushed.
Because everyone is brother's friend, I wanted to treat everyone to something to eat.
Nayli's eyes crinkled in a smile as she exclaimed excitedly, good thing that sparrow was so cool and saved your life.
Nan Shishua quickly smoothed things over.
Anyway, I'll be able to make a delicious meal in a little while. Suddenly, the giant parrot moved abruptly.
Nan Shishua was startled, staring at it with a pale face.
Oh, why is this parrot here?
Why is it here? Zugun looked helpless, waving his hand. I'll explain later. Let's eat first. Nan Shishua took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. Oh, I see. What are we eating today?
The story of this meal began when Nayli suddenly discovered the mandrake. It was still half buried in the soil, drowsy, and the little girl sat beside it, innocently touching its leaves. The mandrake's face immediately turned pitch black. Before long, steaming hot dishes were served.
Nan Shishua announced loudly, wow, it's finally done.
The 2 brothers looked at the full bowl of rice in surprise.
This was Nan Shishua's special curry kimchi rice.
It was simmered until rich like a broth, even though it was just instant curry and pre-made kimchi. But he generously chopped kimchi, pork, and various vegetables, and stirred it continuously for an hour to prevent it from sticking to the pot. Everyone picked up a plate full of food, filled with anticipation.
Zhuogong sniffed, it smells so good, let's have a taste. Nan Shishua stood by, hands clasped, silently praying, I hope it's really delicious. Xia took a bite, and her taste buds instantly exploded. She exclaimed, could this be a legendary dish combining East and West? It's a bit spicy, but it's a good kind of spicy. But then she wondered, is India considered Western? Zhuogong was clearly puzzled by this innocent question. Their reactions were like a comedy.
Casually, he noticed Nayli, who had been silent.
He asked, Gee Nayli, why aren't you eating?
Nayli turned and walked away, saying in a low voice, I don't really have an appetite, I'm going inside to sleep. Looking at her lonely, slender back, he thought to himself, perhaps that metal chimera is making her uncomfortable. Should I find something for her to do to help her forget her worries?
That evening, the two mandragoras were still sound asleep,
when suddenly a shadow loomed over the metal mandragora. Meanwhile, Yubair Mu and Jia were still savoring the delicious lunch. Yubair Mu rubbed his stomach and said, as expected of a professional chef, it's truly different. This taste is really special, I haven't eaten so much in a long time. Jia nodded in agreement, exactly, I feel like I'm no longer a bird, but a pig. Zhuogong lazily stood up and suggested, then let's go build a fence to digest a bit. The two happily stood up and responded, let me handle the crystal cutting. Suddenly, the fluctuation of a spatial gate startled everyone.
A gate?
Nayli stood before the gate. She held the metal mandragora, crying as she walked and said, if I stay here, Uncle will also be in danger, so we must return to where we belong.
Goodbye, Uncle. Zhuogong rushed over to stop her, gently scolding, where are you going? This is your home.
By the gate, Yubair Mu and Jia shook their heads helplessly at the scene.
Nayli turned around and cried even harder.
He sighed helplessly to himself. They say children disappear in the blink of an eye.
Now I can't let her out of my sight again.
After a while, a steaming bowl of noodles was served. Nayli's face was flushed, and she ate in small bites. After tasting the delicious food, she devoured it like a hungry tiger, exclaiming excitedly,
Uncle, this is even more delicious than last time.
Nan Shiwonia stood by, nodding proudly.
Ramen is indeed the best late-night snack.
Jia warned worriedly, just think, such a small child running away from home.
If you do that again, your sister will scold you, you know. The little girl didn't mind, slurping her soup and replying, I know I was wrong.
A moment later, Nayli put down her bowl, stuck out her tongue, and exclaimed, it's so spicy.
Nanshi Woniu immediately put down a bottle of soda and said, if it's too spicy, drink this. My mom says this is the best thing to drink when eating spicy food. Yubeimu recognized it at once.
Oh, the people in the lab often gave us this too. Nanshi Wonia shared proudly, there are plenty more.
1 bottle for everyone.
After finishing, he cleared the dishes and left, not forgetting to instruct, brother, I'll wash the dishes, then continue with what you asked me to do.
Yubeimu stood up and suggested, then let's continue cutting the crystals. Jia stretched and replied, all right. After the three left, several bottles of soda were also emptied.
Nayli lowered her head apologetically, Uncle, I'm sorry for making you worry.
He gently comforted her, why apologize? You didn't do anything wrong.
He thought to himself, the ones who truly did wrong aren't this child, but those scoundrels who created her and tried to use her. Tonggu took a deep breath, his attitude changing.
He asked seriously, so, can you tell me about your friends from the coconut tribe? Nayli shyly looked up, my friends?
He remembered her personality.
When we go to clear out that sealed lab, we absolutely cannot let this child get hurt.
This kind of thing shouldn't be said aloud.
After a moment of hesitation, he nodded, yes, I remember you mentioned them.
Nayli became less reserved, gesturing excitedly, yes, I'm very close with 3 of them. While listening intently, he organized the information in his mind. It seems there's no need to ask about the lab's location anymore.
Nanshi Woniu must know. Is our worker doing well?
On the other side, Nanshi Woniu grinned, reaching out and continuously patting the 3 unfortunate captives.
He thought contentedly, didn't I say I've got them under control, making them temporarily unable to use their magic?
After the blonde man took a beating, the cloth gag was also ripped from his mouth. He quickly begged for mercy, wait, Nanshi, let's make a deal.
Nanshi paused, surprised, a deal?
The blonde man quickly said, if you let us go,
we'll give you anything you want when we get back. We've even saved up some money.
You know, with that money, you could buy a house in Golden City. And of course, we'll never reveal anything that happened here. But as soon as Nanshi the snail heard this, he reached into his pocket, sneering in response, a deal requires both parties to be on the same level.
I'm not someone who can be bought off with a few coins.
Hearing this, he pulled out a black power card. The blonde man was drenched in sweat, unable to believe his eyes.
Isn't this a black card only issued to the ultra-elite? How do you have this card?
Seeing this, Nanshi the snail became even more smug, shaking the black card.
Does that matter now?
I never expected to pass the promotion assessment this way. The blonde man timidly whispered, we made a mistake back then, but...
Nanchi immediately interrupted him, do you think I'll let you off just by saying that? You called me a fool who doesn't know when to stop. But you are the notorious scoundrels in this industry. Which crime is greater? Failing an exam? Or bullying the weak? Stealing money? Using a bit of power to swindle people?
At this point, he reached into his pocket again, pulled out 3 pills, and smiled even more brightly. Here, these are refined from the pollen of the forget-worry tree, given to me by Big Brother. I've been holding back for a long time, so I don't know how strong the effect will be. The 3 abyssal demons shrieked in terror, it's enough to erase all memories. Nanchi, the boy, didn't care at all, narrowing his eyes and saying, your dirty personality needs a reset with this.
Open wide. The blonde man's face turned pale, and he struggled unwillingly, no, ah.
A few days later, the sky cleared up again.
Gu and Nali were walking together, and Gu couldn't help but complain, raising children is truly exhausting. Meanwhile, Yubelmu exclaimed in surprise, what? You're going to clean up that sealed laboratory?
Zogong nodded calmly, admitting, yes, I'll take Nanchi, Shi, and Gu with me.
Please help me look after Jia and Nali.
He immediately assured, you don't have to worry about this. Just then, Nanchi and Shi ran over, shouting, brother, everything is ready. Looking at his eager expression, his brother couldn't help but wonder, what's wrong? Our chef seems very happy? Nanchi's bald head gleamed in the sunlight as he excitedly muttered to himself, the boss said he'd introduce me to an A-rank blacksmith.
Maybe my problem can finally be solved? Yubel laughed when he heard it, ha, so that's what it is? Jia reminded him with some concern, but are you just going like that? At least you should disguise yourself, right? Only then did he suddenly remember, oh, right, maybe that would be better.
Nanchi, however, was puzzled, feeling that something wasn't right.
Why do I need a disguise just to meet a blacksmith?
Jia suddenly removed the bone helmet from her head, revealing her beautiful and dazzling face, and said, at least wear this before you go out.
Don't let anyone recognize you. Nothing good will come of it. Tao Gun casually took it, is this suitable for me?
She handed it over and assured him, your face is small, but your head is surprisingly large.
Yubel immediately yelled, what? You brat! Try saying that again. Nanchi, still immersed in his excitement, suddenly quieted down and touched his chest, wondering, what's happening? Why is my heart beating so fast? Is this what love at first sight feels like?
But reality was incredibly cruel. Yubel had just cursed when Dia or someone hit him, I'm going to kill you. With a thud, Nanchi fell to his knees, making her jump in surprise and turn her head. Sister, please excuse my forwardness, I'm just the type who acts immediately on whatever comes to mind.
Sister, what's your ideal type?
This scene made Zhuogong and Yubei air choke on their water, unable to believe their eyes.
In contrast, Dia was stunned, stammering, that's my ideal type.
The two of them looked at Nanjishi, eager to hear the gossip. Wow, it's been a long time since something this interesting happened.
He seems quite serious, doesn't he? He's always like this, answering immediately no matter what he's asked.
Dia was truly thinking seriously, saying whatever came to mind. First, they must be very cute, and it would be even better if they could dance well. Actually, she wanted to be a peacock that Nanjishi knew nothing about.
He was startled and jumped up. Dia added a fatal joke, and I think the more feathers, the better.
This statement was like a sweeping blow, completely shattering his heart. Nanjishi instantly turned to stone, his hair standing on end. Nanjishi could no longer hold back and cried out in despair to the sky. Brother, let's go, I need to see that alchemist right now. Zhuogong reluctantly agreed.
Alright. If something comes up on the way, can we make a detour?
Nanjishi replied without thinking, I don't care where we go.
A moment later, in the real world, a dungeon gate opened.
The people outside were startled by this sight.
What's going on? Why did the gate become so big?
A giant beak emerged from inside, followed by a huge colorful parrot flying out, scaring the people below out of their wits.
Isn't that a giant poisonous parrot? This is insane. Go report to the association immediately. But someone was writing it just now. How can this be? Go report it quickly.
Meanwhile, on the parrot's back, Nanjishi calmed down and began to wonder.
Brother, where are we going? Why did we bring this giant poisonous parrot out? Everyone is terrified. He replied indifferently, since we have transportation, why walk?
He looked at the strange flying direction, even more confused.
But where exactly are we going?
Zhuogong replied matter-of-factly, you were the one who said to tell me where to go.
Nanjishi asked loudly in disbelief, what?
He said nothing more, just smiled and looked up at the sky, thinking to himself, a blue bird soars in the blue sky.
We should name it Blue. Nanjishi waited for a moment, then hesitantly asked, so, where exactly are we going now?
A long time later, in a conference room, an employee was reading a report.
Director, the Christmas operatives we sent out have all returned with amnesia. Han Mayerong frowned impressed. What about the locating chimeras they took with them?
The person stammered, they said they lost them. Before he could finish, he slammed his hand on the table, gritting his teeth in anger. If we can't find that mechanical device, it will not only affect the review of government funding, but also result in the loss of the huge investment we've already made.
They won't let this go easily.
After a moment of fright, the person calmed down and continued reporting. They said they were looking for.
We found this in the hunter's clothes.
As soon as he finished speaking, he handed over a note with a brief message. See you as agreed.
Han Mayerong stammered, repeating, see you as agreed? What does that mean? Which scoundrel is playing such a prank? We must investigate and bring them to justice.
Before he could finish, the colorful parrot suddenly burst into the room, silencing him.
Dust billowed, filling the surroundings.
Dogon flapped his wings as he landed, complaining, the unstable landing is because my left tail feather is damaged. After we're done here, I must deal with it immediately.
Butler Jean? Can you handle it? Nan Shiwu was left dumbfounded, his rear end in the air. Is he displeased with me? The parrot's voice echoed through the room. Who is in charge of this laboratory?
Just a short while ago, before attacking the lab, Nan Shiwu had asked, bewildered, Hanbit Lab is located on the side of Feifeng Mountain.
Shouldn't that place be between the slums and Venus City? He immediately interrupted, we're almost there, just a little further. Nan Shiwu was still a bit confused, but is this really okay? Brother, you might not know, because you haven't been back in a long time. Hanbit is no ordinary lab. They even received media attention for developing the Janali.
Ah, no, I mean that mechanical creature.
Isn't that illegal? I, Nan Shiwu, am an upright person. The parrot's voice was nonchalant and relaxed, isn't it? We'll find out when we get there.
Nan Shiwu had no choice but to shut up, reminding himself, right, he must have a plan.
A moment later, he turned back and asked, I say, brother, this parrot's tail looks a bit strange, doesn't it? He nodded and replied, yes, the left side has no feathers. It was like this when I first saw it.
It was fleeing for its life because its tail was attacked by its own kind.
I saved it, so that's why it listens to me so well now?
Nan Shiwu was still puzzled.
Just because its tail has no feathers, it was attacked by its own kind?
He explained helplessly, this poisonous parrot is very fixated on beautiful tails.
I guess that's why it was ganged up on.
Those guys specifically attacked its tail. But upon hearing this, Nan Shiwu felt an itch all over, his lips trembling as he pressed them together. Tears streaming down his face, feeling a sense of sympathy.
I understand that feeling of something not growing. A moment later, Zugun called out, oh, is it over there? Nan Shiwu recognized it. Yes, it's there.
Upon hearing this, he immediately perked up.
Excellent. Blue, fly straight there. The parrot's eyes immediately widened, letting out a piercing shriek. Its speed instantly reached its limit, scaring Nan Shiwu out of his wits. Fly straight there? He means. Zugun instructed without hesitation, hold on tight.
Its landing technique isn't very good, all because of that tail. Nan Chi and Gu were tossed about by the wind, feeling utterly insane.
A few seconds later, a loud crash echoed from the building. The doctors inside frantically asked each other, what on earth happened? Did a war break out? Damn it, the dust is too thick, I can't see anything. One person pointed tremblingly, huh? What's that? The parrot regained consciousness, glancing behind it, terrified. How can there be such an ominous parrot here? Before they could react, countless spider silks shot towards them, ensnaring them. What's going on? Spider webs? Guan stepped forward to assess the situation. It looks like most of them have been caught. Nanshi awkwardly followed Gu, asking, brother, why go to all this trouble? Couldn't we just use the main entrance?
He responded indifferently, his gaze cold. The head of the laboratory is usually on the top floor, as if they're plotting something.
Then he looked at the others and asked, this is a secret laboratory, right? A doctor trembled and shouted, who are you? He calmly replied, I am Janali's guardian. The doctor mumbled, confused, who is Janali? But he didn't answer, instead glancing at another person, thinking to himself, demonic energy?
That person's voice also rang out, full of caution, there's an outsider here. Meanwhile, in Golden City, inside the Hunter Association's Stratford Tower, a majestic voice rang out, how have you prepared for this B-rank exam? If you fail, I'll kick you out of the house, understand? Li Beck Hall, a C-rank hunter, complained unenthusiastically, Grandpa. You're also a C-rank hunter, yet you're the president of the Hunter Association. Never mind, you've already reached this level in your early 20s, that's quite fast. But, I haven't been to the office in a while, can I get some pocket money? Li Yunsu, the president of the Hunter Association, sighed helplessly. I truly spoil this only grandson of mine too much. This kid, I'm already 84 years old.
Isn't it time to find someone to take over?
He turned his head upon hearing this, muttering to himself, here we go again. Lee Yunsuk continued to sigh, his tone heavy, this child. He witnessed the Awakened desperately saving people and founded the Hunter Association to help them. Because he wanted to contribute a small part to protecting this world.
But what about today's Awakened? They no longer dedicate themselves to those dangerous tasks. Most only care about how much money they can earn. I'm not saying I want to force them into danger just because they are awakened. Wasn't the original purpose of researching chimeras to protect them?
However, to hire a chimera hunter, one must actually pay a large sum to the laboratory that researches chimeras. As a result, impoverished areas are completely forgotten in times of crisis. Everyone is just trying to survive, and you can't blame the hunters. But as someone who has not forgotten the heroes of the old days, I believe a world where money determines the value of life is wrong. In times like these, the Hunter Association must be more resolute than ever. However, everyone covets this position, simply because becoming president allows them to build a stronger influence. Because I awakened late and am low-ranked, I can only survive as an incompetent president. But Bihi's nephew was different, he awakened very early. Just as he was mentioned, he popped his bubblegum, trying to change the subject. He turned back in surprise, asking what happened. The other person read from a report, saying a highly venomous parrot had appeared in the slums.
Li Beihi turned in shock and asked, a highly venomous parrot?
Insu also looked incredulous, saying there were no signs of a gate of nature appearing at all.
What about the hunters?
The other person scratched their head awkwardly and said, we've already contacted the branch, but no one is willing to help. Hearing this, Insu gritted his teeth in anger, muttering, of course they wouldn't go, it's the slums. The support there is terrible. After a moment of thought, he slammed the table and shouted, immediately contact all nearby labs researching chimeras.
I'm going alone.
Seeing him rush out, Li Beihi quickly stood up and said, Uncle, I'll go with you. Meanwhile, on Zhu Gun and Han Mi-young-su's side, he angrily discovered there were outsiders. Zhu Gun manipulated spider silk into sharp needles, piercing directly into the opponent's body. Nan Jishir felt dizzy seeing this, but Zhu Gun ignored him and tore the opponent's body apart.
Strangely, only liquid metal fell to the ground. Gu and he didn't understand what happened. Liquid metal? That guy, don't tell me he's a chimera. The pile of liquid metal separated and then gradually reassembled.
The doctors' faces turned pale, dumbfounded.
The director is a chimera?
Zhu Gun wasn't particularly surprised, just stared coldly. Before his body could fully reassemble, the opponent roared and charged, how dare you do this to my lab?
I'll eliminate you.
Before he finished speaking, he swung his claws to attack.
Zhu Gun remained motionless. Upon closer inspection, this guy was the lab director.
This was liquid metal, just like Jean Nali, but it didn't feel like a mechanical creature.
Did this guy conduct biological experiments on himself? Thinking this, he calmly dodged the opponent's frantic attacks. Gu observed for a while, then sent a mental message, Gon.
Zhu Gun, I successfully connected with his consciousness just now.
Immediately after,
a stream of information flowed directly into his mind. The images showed him conducting experiments in the lab, and in the
secret room, a strong odor permeated the air. If this means I can be more successful than in Boku De, I'm willing to do anything.
Zhu Gun immediately stomped his foot heavily and rushed to Tom, leaning his face close to him.
You dared to abduct children and experiment on them? Han Mi-young-do remained unrepentant, sneering, those children are just rats scurrying in the slums.
They should be grateful I gave them a chance. Before he could finish, Zhu Gun had already pinned him to the ground, his body collapsing like porridge. Han Mi-young-do also felt something was wrong. He tried to find other methods. His body was unresponsive, he had to quickly resolve the anger in his heart. But Zhu Gun's rage had reached its peak.
You talk too much. Let me give you some time to reflect on your suffering, Han Mi-young-do began to panic.
Zhu Gun's immense magic completely overwhelmed him. I've never seen such vast magic.
It hurts. Stop. Stop. He wailed as his body gradually shrank, eventually becoming a tightly compressed small sphere. Zhu Gun landed softly after he was finished, as composed as a deity. This scene left the male knights present dumbfounded. Han Mi had actually turned into a sphere?
Zhu Gun unhurriedly picked up the small sphere and turned to the remaining people.
Now, I have a few questions. What do you say? Or, would you prefer I turn all of you into that?
After extracting the information, Gu speculated, so Han Mi-young-do and in Boku De were once master and apprentice. It all began when in Boku De stole Han Mi-young-do's research, fleeing with the biological experiment data. To think he would go so far as to turn himself into a monster for rejuvenation, human greed truly knows no bounds.
Dao Gun thought of something else, from his memories of Diza.
Han Mi-yong-do hadn't mentioned it at all.
Did he really not know?
Anyway, Na Li's tracking device was part of a Han by Site internal project, which we've already handled easily.
Now we just need to destroy this thing, right?
Yes, Nan Jishu will take care of the cleanup, and Bulu is with him. Now, all that's left is Han Mi-yong-do's legacy, the results of those illegal experiments, nothing more.
The two stopped. In front of a door. Gu exclaimed, "This must be it." Dao Gun gently kicked the door, and it swung open, revealing rows of large test tubes containing human bodies. Gu was shocked. That scoundrel actually kept the bodies of these children. What should we do now? Dao Gun pondered.
He recalled memories of himself lying on an operating table, with two doctors arguing fiercely. There must be a reason why sample 17 had no side effects, we must dissect it to find out why.
The other person yelled, "Are you crazy? You're going to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. Do you know how much money it brings us by pretending to be a natural awakening? What if we lose its body later? Dissection is still the safer option." Dao Gun gently touched a test tube,
and softly said, "At least let it rest now."
Suddenly, he noticed something.
From the depths of the room, a small fox poked its head out.
"This scent. I know this scent." Zhu Gun exclaimed in surprise, "It can talk?"
Na Li never mentioned this. He thought of something, leaned closer to Gu, and whispered, "It smells Na Li on us."
Gu waved dismissively, "It must be your scent. I shower every day." Zukuan turned to the little fox and asked, "Do you know about the mechanical creature?" The little fox was clearly very surprised. "A mechanical creature? You've already met him, haven't you?" Zukuan replied, "The child is doing well, living happily with us in the demon realm." Upon hearing the good news, the fox's tail wagged incessantly. "Really?" Then, with teary eyes, it said, "I've been waiting to hear that he's alive and safe." Seeing the fox's sincere attitude, Zukuan seemed to already know who it was. The child once said his best friend was a fox, so it must be this one. He asked, "Are there others here besides you?" The fox immediately replied, "Of course there are. Everyone, come out." Gu looked around curiously. "A tree and an ant? And are those ground squirrels?" "They're not cacti." Zukuan looked at them and confirmed again, "So, you are the last remaining chimeras?" The fox sadly replied, "Yes, the combat types were all killed or sold off." Zukuan nodded, "Very well. It seems they all came from the demon realm." He quickly made a decision, "Then it should be fine to let you return, right?" The fox was stunned. The demon realm? In the sealed laboratory, the raging fire had not yet extinguished. The two stood in front, dumbfounded. So the slum wasn't the real target? Then why? The sharp-eyed youth spotted Blue. "Old man, there's a dragon parrot over there." "Wait, is someone riding it?" On Blue's massive body, Zukuan asked. "The researchers have all been secured, right?" Nankitcha replied seriously, "Yes, we have evacuated them to safety as ordered. We also confirmed there are no personnel left inside the building." Hearing this, he felt a little relieved. Zukuan thought, this laboratory is legal anyway, and those researchers were unaware of Han Miangzu's crimes. At this moment, Nankichu asked, confused, "But shouldn't we give them memory-erasing medicine? They are all witnesses who have seen us." Zukuan immediately affirmed, "That is precisely why we are not doing that." Seeing Nanchi Che-wu's confusion, Zugun asked, "What do you mean?" Zugun looked down and asked, "Nanchi Che-wu, do you know who they are?" Nanchi Che-wu paused before answering, "That's Lian Xiu, the president of the Hunter Association, and his nephew." He was stunned, a look of disbelief on his face. "Wait, is he really flying around on a dragon parrot? Who would do that?" Nanchi Che-wu sighed. "It seems they rushed here after receiving the report." At that moment, Zugun was still deep in thought. Lian Xiu, that name sounds familiar. A few seconds later, he suddenly startled, remembering. So he took out a small orb and threw it down. Nanchi Che-wu panicked, "Hey, what are you doing?" Lian Xiu caught it steadily. Captain Li was utterly confused. "Elder, what is that thing?" Lian Xiu ignored him. He just stared intently at the small orb, surprised to see it again after the incident. This must be a magic spell that seals magic power. That child said it couldn't be undone unless the unsealer's magic power surpassed the caster's. But who would do this to Han Meiying, and why? Just then, a rescuer ran up to report. "Chairman, thankfully there were no casualties, but several researchers provided strange testimonies. They said Han Meiying was a chimera. And the intruder actually helped them evacuate from the fire. What exactly is going on?" Hearing this, Lian Xiu's expression instantly darkened. Could it be?
He sharply turned his head to look at the giant blue bird in the sky. That child is still alive. Zugun said, Nan Chi Che Wu, let's return to the slums. Nan Chi Che Wu was overjoyed to hear this.
Are we going to meet the person who can solve our problems?
Zugun explained, I originally intended to handle this quietly in the human world, but if the association investigates, it will only cause more trouble.
This doesn't look good. Nan Chi Che Wu asked worriedly, then what should we do? Alchemy Association Branch, Night Duty Room.
Branch Chief Jean was sound asleep when he suddenly heard a strange sound. He bolted upright.
Ha! What was that sound? Is anyone there? Who would come at this hour?
Nanchi Chiwu emerged from underground like a ghost, greeting, hello there.
Department head Jean was scared out of his wits, shouting, thief. Zugun reprimanded, didn't I tell you to be careful? How clumsy. Nanchi Chiwu struggled to put on the black hood, how do you use this thing? Zugun quickly reassured Department head Jean, calm down. It's me, Administrator Jean. Department head Jean, still shaken, asked, Mr. Zugun, what brings you here so late?
Zugun took off his mask and chuckled, it's nothing major.
Come with me to the demon realm now.
We'll talk elsewhere. 3 people, Nali, Yubelmu, and Sa in the distance, were sitting and observing a stone.
Yubelmu said, this fence is made of crystal and light stones, right?
First, cut the crystals to the right size, then drill holes, and then embed the polished light stones. The light scattered beautifully, making Nali unable to hide her delight. Little sparrow, this is truly beautiful. Leah also couldn't help but praise it, admitting she had never thought of such a method.
If we make it into a real fence, we just need to extend it, right? I wonder how many we'll need. Suddenly, she saw something, is that a gate? It seems he's back. Those chimeras.
A group of chimeras fell out of the portal.
Leah wondered, did Zugun send them? They look very weak. Suddenly, Nali ran off, surprising Leah. What's wrong with Nali? What's happening in the distance?
Seeing Sa blocking the newly arrived chimeras in the distance.
Yubelmu was puzzled. What is he doing? Is the newcomer scaring it? Leah doesn't think so. No. It looks more like it's displaying its majesty.
From a distance, it tried to communicate with a small tree.
However, the tree passed right through it without saying anything. Yubram was startled.
It ignored the distant presence and left directly. That guy seems to have taken a liking to that fertile garden plot.
Indeed, the tree species are different.
But that garden plot already has an owner. More and more people gathered, and the atmosphere grew grander.
Yogon's people have arrived. Yogon stroked the parrot. Well done.
Blue, rest here for a bit first.
Nanji stretched and sighed contentedly. Home truly is the best place.
The metal branch manager was astonished.
Did you really build a house in the demon realm? But is this really a house? He mumbled, calculating. A house in the demon realm. Its research value must be immense. Are there only 2 rooms in total? Where's the main door? And the windows? So this is the back? Yoban saw Nali hiding behind a tree and fell into thought. Has Nali not made up with her friend yet?
Thinking this, he walked along, instructing, Nanji, fix the car.
Vaultkeeper, you 2 wait here for a moment. Are those 2 going out? Yogon spoke with Ear. Ear, how are things over there? Ear replied. I've already used it. It's quite suitable to bring in 2.
Hearing this, she interjected.
I'll make 1 for you later too.
Yuagong observed the situation and noticed something.
He raised a question. But why do these guys look so angry? Ear explained, you're the one who sent this chimera over, right?
The sapling had noticed this garden since earlier, and both sides just glared at each other.
Neither was willing to give way. The squeak of an ant startled Yuberbu. Are even ants joining the fun now? Ear commented, its tail blowing means it senses its companion is in danger. When they saw its strange behavior, wait, what's that?
It wasn't until it threw someone away that the 3 people were startled. It was like throwing a shot put. The ant charged straight at the mandrake, making it break out in a cold sweat. At the critical moment, a dark shadow flashed past.
It chose to take the attack for the mandrake. The powerful collision sent the little ant flying far away.
Witnessing this scene, Yuberbu praised the mandrake's increasingly synchronized teamwork. Ji also nodded in agreement, commenting that the sapling and the little ant were a great pair. Seeing this, the little tree quickly picked up the little ant and left. Zhuagong observed the overall situation and concluded that the warm-up phase was over. Now, only Nali and Snow Fox remained. In a corner deep within the forest, Snow Fox followed a familiar scent to a large tree. This scent, without a doubt, belonged to him. The mechanical creature finding her so quickly startled Nali. Before she could speak, Snow Fox apologized first. I will wait here until you accept my apology. Teary-eyed, she stood on tiptoes, not daring to move, as painful memories flooded her mind.
Back then, she was still imprisoned in Han Myingdu's laboratory. That old man had sternly reprimanded, "What's wrong with this thing? It refuses to enter battle mode." Another employee reported in confusion, its scores were always the highest during training. But recently, as soon as it enters battle mode, it just stands there taking hits, even ignoring commands. Could there be a program error? I think it's a personality issue with it. Han Mei-Ying-do was greatly surprised. Personality?
The person quickly explained, although it's a combat type, it was born with an overly kind heart. When bullied by other kids, it doesn't fight back either.
If it weren't for you.
So when its opponents attack together, it could only stand there and silently endure. I'm worried that if this continues, it will truly perish. At that time, Neili could only lament in extreme pain, "It hurts too much." Han Mei-Ying-do coldly cursed, "Foolish.
If the problem is its personality, just change it."
He ordered a roommate to be assigned to this mechanical creature. It must be someone weaker than it, but once they become familiar, they must still absolutely obey our commands. Command the roommate to betray it, because there's nothing more painful than being betrayed by the one you trust most.
When it was severely bitten by the fox, Han Mei-Ying-do appeared arrogantly to reprimand it. "Do you understand now?
There's no such thing as friends.
Next time, they will eliminate you. If you don't want to perish, it's best to strike first."
Before the old man could finish speaking, Neili had already leaped up and fled desperately. Those present hastily chased after it, trying to catch it. Neili ran, crying, thinking firmly in its heart, "No, we are still friends. I can't hurt my friends. No, don't go that way, I'll go." Back to the present, a moment later, Neili emerged from behind a tree, and seeing the familiar figure of its old friend, the fox could no longer suppress its emotions.
It pounced forward, sobbing uncontrollably. "Wah, I was the one who bit you, why are you crying?"
Neili choked out, "I missed you, and I missed everyone. I missed everyone so much, I'll never leave you all again." From a distance, Zhu Juan and his group, seeing the knot of friendship finally untangled, let out a slight sigh of relief.
"Shall we head back then?" the little companions exclaimed. "So Neili used to be like that?" Zhu Juan shrugged, "Never mind, just pretend I didn't see anything. Anyway, it's great that they made up so quickly." As they turned to leave, Nanji shivered and asked, "Big brother, how much longer do we have to stand like this?" Zhu Jun waved his hand helplessly. "Ah, you can move now. And then, I'm just afraid Nali will really be scared when the time comes. I just haven't seen any strangers." Yubei looked at the strange man with a puzzled expression, but who is that person standing next to him? This gentleman has such a warm aura. Liya was equally curious, and he seems to be wearing pajamas. It was then that Zuogong suddenly remembered, "Oh right, I almost forgot to introduce him. He is an A-rank alchemist, and he will remove the magic for you." Both exclaimed in unison, "Really?" Branch manager Jean politely said, "I am Steward Jean. If it's not too rude, may I pluck a few of your hairs?" The two immediately looked serious and asked in confusion, "Our hair?" Seeing their strange reaction, he quickly asked, "Ah, is there a problem?" Nanji was speechless and reluctantly said, "No. It's not that, it's just a bit embarrassing." Meanwhile, in another place, Wu Fengshu lay lazily on the table. Sighing, "I'm serious." A giant blue monstrous bird suddenly appeared from the doorway. People from the Hunter Association immediately rushed over, and the scene was chaotic. The proprietress walked over with dishes and replied, "Really? I was inside at the time and didn't know anything." He looked up at the window. "Anyway, the weather has started to get colder recently." She placed the plate on the table and said something that surprised him with a smile. "Oh right. Winter is coming soon, isn't it? Oh, these are roasted sweet potatoes. On such a cold day, nothing beats warm roasted sweet potatoes. Paired with this spicy and sour kimchi, it won't feel greasy." Wu Fengshu cheered happily, "You must enjoy it. It's so warm." A mouthful of warm roasted sweet potato filled him with immense satisfaction. "Eat up, there's plenty more." He ate and asked in confusion, "Why am I the only one eating?" She propped her chin with her hands and smiled at him, "I've already eaten. But Fengshu, you don't look too well. Do you have a cold?" He chuckled foolishly, scratching his head, "I'm just a bit sore all over. Maybe I've been overtraining lately. Even after taking medicine, I still feel cold all over." "It's been 10 days. The proprietress immediately became serious. Could that be a sign of awakening? Nausea, dizziness, and body aches have persisted for 10 days. You're 17 this year, aren't you? Awakening usually begins at the end of puberty, so the timing is just right." Wu Fengshu shrugged, half believing, half doubting, "Oh, come on. Someone like me can also awaken?" His disdainful expression made her stomp her foot in anger. "What's wrong with you? Do you think awakening depends on your background? You've also grown quite a bit taller recently." He still didn't care much, waving his hand. "Don't let me get my hopes up for nothing. Even if I awaken, a low level won't be much use.
Before he could finish speaking, the proprietress slapped him on the chest.
This is.
She turned her head, her tone firm.
You don't have money for the bus, do you? There's a branch of the Hunter Association in Silver City.
If you go there, they'll check if you've awakened. You never know, little silly, maybe you'll become a great hunter. The little silly smiled, touched, with red eyes.
Thank you, Auntie.
She angrily slammed the table.
Hey, I'm not your auntie.
He wiped his tears while expressing his determination.
I will definitely succeed and repay you twofold. Thank you very much, Auntie.
The proprietress was almost fuming.
Hey, that brat is doing this on purpose, isn't he? Come back here.
Back in the forest, the team and everyone else were still working hard. Fooping inserted a wooden stake into the ground, muttering to himself, working even at night. It's not like we feel tired anyway, especially since we're chimeras. He looked at Nanshi, who was exhausted like a snail, leaving him speechless.
I told him to leave. Why is he still dawdling here?
He passionately shouted, I'm not training, I'm just helping.
Zogong had already informed us. While Steward Jean is dealing with Blue's tail feathers, let's continue with the rest.
Nanshi was startled.
Ha!
Wait, I haven't told Steward Jean the most important part yet. He immediately objected, saying Steward Jean needed to concentrate and to wait a bit longer. Or if you want to go home, you can tell him yourself.
He gave a wry smile. Honestly, youth is all about living in the moment.
Zogong continued sternly, if everyone wants to live here, everyone must contribute.
However much you can, understand?
Nali replied cheerfully, understood, leave it to me. Fu Ping nodded in agreement.
It's always good to have a role, no matter where you are. I wonder if Zogong is doing well.
Meanwhile, Nali excitedly chased after him and asked, Uncle, where are you going? He replied, carrying several large wooden stakes, it seems there's some fencing left over. I'll take it and put it up along the path.
The little girl smiled happily, hee, I bet it'll look great. Zogong didn't let her off the hook, asking, you've completely made up with your friends, haven't you?
Nali stiffened, stammering, yes, I have. Then she hesitantly asked, but uncle, have you really been to the tribe's bathing area?
He nodded in confirmation, yes, I have.
Seeing her worried expression, he secretly mused.
It seems this little one is worried I'll discover her true identity.
Seemingly having made up her mind, the little girl whispered, Uncle, there's something I want to tell you.
Actually, I'm not from the Shi clan.
Zhu Jun interrupted her confession, Nali, no one will come looking for you anymore.
Because I've already taken care of everything. And I was thinking, why don't we become the Shi clan? The little girl was so excited she choked up. What does that mean?
He smiled gently and explained, our family has grown, so we need a name.
Since we've already chosen a name, let's call our tribe the Shi clan. This made the little girl incredibly excited. The Shi clan? Uncle, thank you so much, truly.
He affectionately stroked the little girl's head.
Then let's go back. Everyone must be waiting.
Nali cheerfully walked along, loudly announcing, we're back.
From now on, we are the Shi clan. Lu Fan let out a sigh of relief. It seems your talk went very well. Nan Ji Yao smiled despairingly, he's back. Big brother, we just finished building the fence.
Nali's eyes widened as she looked around.
Our home looks even prettier.
A fox pounced on the little girl, and Nali laughed happily.
Where did you go without saying anything? Zhu Jun watched the scene with a satisfied smile. Children will always be children. Suddenly, a loud crash caught his attention.
Bru dove down from above, leaving him speechless.
I missed you too.
Although he looks fierce, he's still just a child. Suddenly, he noticed something unusual.
Bru, your tail fur.
At this moment, branch manager Jean walked over with a smile.
It seems Bru is even faster than me. The treatment is complete.
Zhu Jun stroked it, feeling puzzled.
How did it heal so quickly? Doesn't regeneration usually take quite some time? He explained calmly. I kept some of the red moss you gave me earlier. Its healing effect is excellent. It can even be used as an ingredient for high-grade medicine.
Furthermore, if an alchemist directly applies it to the wound, the effect will be even better.
Little Bruce stood up and praised sincerely. An A-rank alchemist is truly different.
He smiled happily, feeling acknowledged.
Thank you. Nan Jiao stood aside, hardly believing his eyes. The fur grew back? It's a miracle. Now it's my turn. He crept closer and whispered. Manager, have you by any chance researched hair growth techniques?
Branch manager Jean turned in surprise.
Ha? How did you know?
Actually, I've spent 10 years developing a hair growth potion. Refining hair growth potions is a field even alchemists dream of. I'll definitely send you some once I'm finished.
I can tell you're quite distressed.
He knelt down, overwhelmed with gratitude.
Whatever you need, please just command me. He joked, our employee seems a bit too excited.
And I also examined both of your hair samples.
First of all, a magic circle isn't easily destroyed. What's more, this is an ancient magic circle I've never seen before.
If we had a large quantity of mandrake fruit, perhaps we could find a solution.
Zugun asked in surprise, huh? Are you talking about that red fruit? The golden rank branch chief quickly turned his head. You know mandrakes? He mused, I've eaten many, of course I know.
Zhuo informed him that the fruits were almost ripe, but he wasn't quite sure.
He pressed, what do you mean by that?
He smiled meaningfully, leading him to the backyard.
Because I've provided them with the best magic. See? The one you gave me before is here too.
The golden rank branch chief was astonished.
This is an entire mandrake garden? When I came to save people, I was so focused on healing that I didn't notice. He began to explain in detail.
A mandrake is a type of spirit that bears fruit by absorbing energy and grows by continuously consuming its own fruit.
That's why pure energy condenses within mandrake fruits.
The problem is, if two fruits are forcibly picked, the energy becomes contaminated, making it a deadly poison for humans. In other words, to obtain a complete fruit, you must wait for the mandrake to offer it willingly. He suddenly remembered something and advised, it's also a good idea to place some stones in the garden. When mandrakes bear fruit, they tend to hide in caves or among rocks to avoid predators. He quickly took notes, wondering, how do you know such valuable information? Zugun turned to look into the distance. Actually, I only recently recalled this. It turns out I once had a connection with a mandrake. Rewinding to the past, a cold announcement came over the broadcast. Test subject 17 deployed to high-altitude zone. Young Zugun stepped through the spatial gate, contemplating the 10-day training of surviving alone in the demon realm.
What's so hard about it? It feels like a walk in the park. Since I'm already on a snowy mountain, I might as well climb straight to the peak.
A strange sound suddenly came from nearby, catching his attention.
What's that sound?
Upon closer inspection, he found it was a mandrake.
Was it attacked?
Zugun reached out to touch it, but found it had already woken up, thrashing wildly in fright. He quickly retracted his hand, thinking to himself, it looks so small, yet it's so fierce. The mandrake suddenly fell down, trembling, startling him. Its condition is really bad now, it looks like it could faint at any moment.
Oomph, wait, don't tell me I'm starting to feel sorry for it. It's just a creature.
After being infused with warm magic, it quickly fell asleep.
Zugun smiled as he watched this little creature. It was already exhausted, so the magic infusion made it sleepy. Should I keep it for a few days? That night, the mandrake obediently lay in his pocket, guiding the way. Zugun looked up and found a small cave. Let's spend the night here.
Inside the cave, it excitedly ran around, looking everywhere, making him happy to watch. With a bit of magic, it looked much better. Running around with such energy. He picked up his water bottle and took a sip, then caught a glimpse of the mandrake's pitiful, longing expression, feeling a bit guilty.
Oh, you're thirsty too, aren't you? My bad, my bad. Zugun poured a little water on its head, and it swayed happily from side to side.
Hey, stop swaying, or the water won't go in.
Anyone would think it was dancing with joy.
Suddenly, it noticed something changing in its body and quickly hid in a crack in the rock, leaving him utterly confused.
What's going on?
A green light shimmered, and the mandrake emerged, proudly displaying a bright red berry on its head.
Zugun blurted out in confusion, where did this berry come from? It nodded, signaling him to guess. Ha! Is this for me to eat?
Zugun cautiously reached out to take it, thinking, I need to be careful eating fruit from a plant monster. But he could resist almost all toxins, and it seemed sincere. As soon as he put it in his mouth, his eyes widened in surprise. It was sweet, fragrant, and very fresh. And magic was surging into his own magic veins.
Don't tell me this berry contains magic.
He curiously poked his head into the narrow crack to see what was happening inside. The mandrake was highly focused.